Welcome to a world where ancient voices still whisper through the winds. Step into the timeless stories of native tribes, filled with sacred rituals, powerful legends, and deep-rooted wisdom. Grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and prepare to walk the path of spirit, strength, and mystery. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments. Your roots matter here. If these stories move you, give this video a like and subscribe for more sacred journeys. The drum beats are calling. Let the journey begin. The Biloxi tribe once thrived along the Gulf Coast, known for their vibrant culture and connection to the sea. Their history is marked by powerful spiritual traditions, complex social structures, and heartbreaking displacement. Today, the Biloxi people strive to reclaim their identity and culture, navigating a world shaped by centuries of upheaval. This is the story of survival, spirit, and the fight to be heard once again. Long before the world took its present shape, before rivers carved their paths and forests stretched across the land, there was only water, endless, deep, and mysterious. For the Biloxi people, this water was more than a physical reality. It was the birthplace of life itself, the sacred source from which everything emerged. Their creation story begins in this primordial sea, where spirits and elements danced together, weaving the fabric of existence. The Biloxi say that in the beginning, the Great Spirit stirred the waters, and from this sacred movement rose the first beings, animals, plants, and humans, each born from the flowing currents and the breath of the earth. The Gulf Coast, where the Biloxi have lived for centuries, is not just a place on a map, but a living testament to this ancient birth. The sea's salt breeze carries whispers of those first moments when life took form, and the sky's vastness holds the stories passed down through generations. Picture a sunrise over the Gulf's shimmering surface, where light flickers like fire on waves and the horizon blurs into mist. This is where the Biloxi's journey began, a place of endless possibility and deep connection. The sea provided fish and salt. The land offered game and plants. But both were sacred, deserving respect and gratitude. This reverence shaped how the Biloxi lived, loved, and dreamed. Their creation legends tell of animals who taught the first people how to live in harmony with nature. The great turtle carried the earth on its back. The heron brought the gift of patience and precision. The dolphin showed joy and playfulness in the waters. Each creature was a teacher, a guardian, and a symbol of qualities the Biloxi honored. The river mouths, marshes, and barrier islands were not just home, they were sacred landscapes, where the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds was thin. The Biloxi believed that spirits of ancestors and natural forces dwelled here, guiding their people and protecting the balance of life. Sacred ceremonies and offerings kept these connections alive, reminding the community of their place. Within the Great Circle, language carried these truths with elegance and power. The Biloxi tongue, rich with sounds that mimic water's rhythm and wind's whispers, held the names of places, animals, and ceremonies that anchored identity to land and spirit. Every word was a thread in the story of creation, weaving past and present into a living tradition. In the community's heart was a deep understanding. The waters that birthed them were also their future, They knew that respecting and protecting the environment was a sacred duty, one that ensured the survival of their people and the harmony of the world. This ethos shaped laws, rituals, and daily actions, creating a culture deeply attuned to nature's pulse. Yet, the birth of the waters was not just a beginning, it was a promise. A promise that no matter the storms or tides of change, the Biloxi spirit would endure. The story of creation is a reminder that from water comes life, from spirit comes strength, and from connection comes hope. As the waves gently lap against the shore, carrying secrets from the depths, the Biloxi prepare to tell the story of their daily lives, the rhythms, challenges, and celebrations shaped by the sea and land. The Gulf Coast's salty breeze, the rhythm of tides, and the chorus of seabirds set the heartbeat of Biloxi Village. Life along the shores where land meets water. The Biloxi people built communities that breathed with the natural world, their lives deeply shaped by the sea and its generous bounty. This chapter unfolds the rich tapestry of their daily existence, how they made homes, gathered food, and wove together rituals and relationships that defined their culture. Imagine a small Biloxi village nestled among tall grasses and swaying palmettos, just a stone's throw from the shimmering Gulf. The air smells of salt and fresh fish, mingling with the earth's warmth. The homes are crafted from local materials, wood, cane, and palm leaves, simple yet sturdy shelters designed to withstand the coastal storms and humidity. These dwellings reflect a profound knowledge of the environment, blending functionality with respect for nature's gifts. The structures vary with the seasons. In warmer months, open-sided shelters catch the cooling breezes, providing shade while allowing the sights and sounds of the water to flow through. In cooler or stormier times, more enclosed homes offer protection. Each village had its own style, influenced by the specific landscape, but all reflected a common ethos: live lightly on the land, and let the environment guide your steps. Inside the village, life pulses with shared purpose and celebration. Families gather around fires to prepare meals, carve tools, and tell stories that pass ancestral wisdom from one generation to the next. The division of labor is natural, and respected men often head out in dugout canoes to fish or hunt, while women gather shellfish, harvest plants, and maintain the homes. Children learn by watching and doing, their days filled with play and lessons about survival and community. Food is the heart of Biloxi daily life, intimately tied to the seasons and tides. The Gulf offers an abundance. Oysters, crabs, fish, and shrimp provide protein, while the coastal marshes yield wild plants and berries. The Biloxi were expert fishers, using nets, traps, and spears crafted with care and precision. Canoes, carved from long cypress logs, glide silently across the water, enabling travel and trade between villages. But fishing was more than a way to fill stomachs, it was a sacred act. The Biloxi believed the sea was alive and generous, but demanded respect. Rituals before and after fishing trips asked for forgiveness and gratitude. The first catch was often shared with the spirits of the water, ensuring the balance between taking and giving was maintained. This deep relationship made every meal a celebration of life's interconnectedness. In the forests and wetlands, women gathered medicinal herbs, roots, and nuts. They understood the land's healing power, using plants to treat ailments and maintain wellness. This knowledge was carefully passed down, a precious inheritance carried in memory and song. Food and medicine were intertwined, sustaining body and spirit. Seasonal cycles shaped much of Biloxi life. The tribe followed the ebb and flow of nature, the arrival of migratory birds, the blooming of specific plants, and the shifting tides all marked times for planting, harvesting, and ceremony. These cycles fostered a rhythm that connected the people to the earth and sky, grounding their existence in the patterns of the natural world. Social gatherings were a vital part of village life, weaving connections beyond immediate family. Feasts, dances, and ceremonies brought people together to honor the land, celebrate births, or mark important events. Music, often the steady beat of drums and the haunting calls of flutes, filled the air, inviting participation and reinforcing communal bonds. Marriage and family were central pillars, with customs that honored respect, responsibility, and love. Extended families lived close, sharing resources and responsibilities. Children were cherished, seen as gifts of the Creator, and taught the ways of the tribe with patience and care. Elders held revered roles, their wisdom guiding decisions and ensuring traditions were honored. The Biloxi also maintained a keen awareness of their neighbors. Trade networks stretched along the Gulf and inland, exchanging goods such as shells, tools, and food. These interactions fostered alliances and cultural exchange, enriching Biloxi life and strengthening ties across the region. Despite the tranquility this picture paints, village life was not without challenges. Storms could ravage homes and crops, tides could shift unpredictably, and resources sometimes grew scarce. But the Biloxi resilience, rooted in deep knowledge and respect for their environment, enabled them to adapt and thrive. Their relationship with the sea and land was more than survival, it was an ongoing dialogue. Every day brought an opportunity to listen, learn, and live in harmony with the world around them. This balance was the source of their strength and the foundation of their culture. As night falls over the village, the firelight flickers on faces etched with stories of the day and dreams of the future. The sounds of waves and distant drums blend in a lullaby of connection and continuity. The wind that sweeps across the Biloxi's coastal villages carries more than the scent of salt, and seaweed it carries whispers of spirits, ancestors, and ancient power. For the Biloxi people, the world is alive with unseen forces, and their lives are deeply intertwined with mysticism, ritual, and the realm of dreams. This spiritual fabric is not a distant belief, but a living presence shaping their identity, guidance, and connection to all that is. The Biloxi understand that everything in nature, from the smallest shell to the vast ocean, is infused with spirit. These spirits are not gods in the distant heavens, but living energies present in animals, trees, winds, and waters. The community's relationship with these spirits is reciprocal. Respect and honor are paid through ritual, and in return, spirits offer protection, wisdom, and healing, Dreams play a pivotal role in this spiritual worldview. From childhood, Biloxi people are taught to listen carefully to their dreams, for they are messages from the spirit world. A dream might come as an animal guided turtle, an eagle, or a dolphin, each symbolizing qualities or warnings. Dreams can offer foresight, solutions to problems, or spiritual healing. Some dreams are so powerful that they direct major life decisions or community rituals. Vision quests are among the most sacred spiritual practices. Young Biloxi individuals, often at a turning point in their lives, would embark on solitary journeys into the wilderness or along the shore. They would fast, pray, and open themselves to visions and spirit encounters. The goal was to seek guidance, find a personal spirit protector, or gain insight into their path within the tribe. Returning from such a quest was a profound moment, often marked by ceremony and acknowledgement from the community. Rituals are woven throughout the daily and seasonal lives of the Biloxi, marking transitions, honoring spirits, and maintaining harmony. The annual harvest and fishing seasons were occasions for Thanksgiving ceremonies, where offerings of food, shells, and crafted objects were made to the spirits of the sea and land. These rituals reinforce the understanding that human life depends on balance and respect for the natural world. Shamans, spiritual leaders, and healers held a vital place in the community. Gifted with deep spiritual knowledge, they could communicate with the spirit realm, conduct healing ceremonies, and guide individuals and families through personal crises. Their healing practices combined herbal medicine with spiritual cleansing, using chants, rattles, and sacred objects to restore balance to body and soul. The sea, a source of life and mystery, was central to Biloxi's spirituality. The ocean was home to powerful water spirits who controlled the tides, storms, and the abundance of marine life. Fishermen and sailors often performed small rituals before setting out, asking for safe passage and bountiful catches. These prayers acknowledged the sea's power and the tribe's humble place within its vastness. Symbols and sacred objects carry profound spiritual significance. Shells, especially the prized pearl and conch shells, were used in rituals and as personal amulets to protect and connect with spirits. Painted masks and carved figures embodied ancestral spirits and were used in dances and ceremonies to tell stories and invoke protection. Each symbol was layered with meaning, passed down through generations. Music and dance are more than entertainment. They are spiritual acts. The steady beat of drums mimics the heartbeat of the earth, grounding dancers and listeners alike. Songs, often in the Biloxi language, recount creation stories, honor spirits, and invoke healing. The communal experience of dance connects the tribe to the sacred rhythms of life and renewal. The balance between the seen and unseen worlds is a constant presence. Biloxi elders teach that maintaining harmony with spirits requires humility, respect, and attentiveness. Missteps or disrespect could bring illness, misfortune, or disharmony, while honor and gratitude opened the way for blessings and guidance. Taboos and customs reinforce this spiritual balance. Certain animals, places, or times of day might be considered sacred or forbidden for particular activities. For example, fishing might pause during specific lunar phases to honor the cycles of life, or certain forests might be off-limits to protect spiritual sanctuaries. These practices ensured that the tribe's relationship with nature remained sacred and sustainable. The influence of European colonization brought challenges. To these spiritual traditions, missionaries often condemned native beliefs as pagan, and forced assimilation sought to replace them with Christianity. Yet, many Biloxi retained their ancestral spirituality in secret or blended it with new faiths, preserving core elements of their identity through resilience and adaptation. Today, there is a revival of interest in traditional spirituality among the Biloxi. Young people and elders alike engage in ceremonies, language revival, and the study of ancestral knowledge. Spirit dances, vision quests, and dream interpretation have found renewed meaning, not only as cultural heritage, but as vital sources of strength and identity in a changing world. This spiritual legacy is the heartbeat of the Biloxi people. It connects past and future, land and sea, human and spirit in an unbroken circle, through dreams, rituals, and the whispers of the wind. The Biloxi remain anchored in their sacred origins. As the sun dips below the horizon, and the winds carry the songs of ancestors across the Gulf, the tribe prepares to share another vital story, their bonds of family, marriage, and social harmony that hold the community together. In the rhythm of Biloxi life, family is the unshakable foundation and network of bonds that stretches beyond bloodlines to include clans, neighbors, and the wider community. The ties that bind the Biloxi are woven through generations, shaped by customs, responsibilities, and shared values. This chapter explores the intimate world of Biloxi family life, marriage traditions, and social structure, revealing how these connections nurtured resilience and identity. At the heart of the Biloxi social world is the extended family. Unlike the isolated nuclear family common in modern Western society, Biloxi families include grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and close kin who all share in raising children and supporting one another. This network creates a strong safety net where knowledge, traditions, and resources flow freely. Children grow up surrounded by stories, teachings, and care, learning their place within the tribe's living tapestry. The tribe is organized into clans, each linked to a particular animal or natural symbol that reflects qualities valued by the Biloxians: strength, wisdom, or harmony. Clan membership is inherited, and these groups serve as social units that structure relationships, obligations, and ceremonial roles. Clan elders hold great respect, guiding decisions and maintaining traditions that sustain community cohesion. Marriage among the Biloxi is both a personal union and a communal alliance. It is a sacred pact that joins not just two individuals, but two families, often strengthening ties between clans and villages. Marriages are celebrated with ceremonies rich in ritual and symbolism, where blessings are offered by spiritual leaders and community members. The roles of men and women within family and marriage are defined yet complementary. Women are revered as life givers, caregivers, and cultural keepers. They oversee the home, manage food preparation, pass down language and stories, and play key roles in ceremonies. Men often serve as hunters, fishermen, and protectors, providing for the family's physical needs and representing the clan in external affairs. Yet, these roles are fluid, adapting to circumstance and personal strengths. The Biloxi value balance between strength and tenderness, leadership and nurture. Respect and cooperation between genders are essential, underpinning the stability of family life and social harmony. Children are cherished as the future of the tribe from birth. They are welcomed with ceremonies that honor their connection to ancestors and the natural world. Naming ceremonies are particularly significant, as names often embody clan identity, spiritual meaning, or natural phenomena. Linking the child to history and purpose. The upbringing of children is a communal effort. Elders and relatives teach not only survival skills, fishing, crafting, and hunting, but also the moral and spiritual lessons essential for living in balance with others and the environment. Stories of creation, heroic ancestors, and animal guides are shared nightly by firelight, instilling a deep sense of belonging and responsibility. Social norms and taboos guide behavior within families and the wider tribe. Certain foods, activities, or speech may be restricted based on age, gender, or clan affiliation. These rules preserve respect for the sacred and maintain social order, helping the community navigate relationships and uphold its values. Conflict within families or clans is addressed through traditional methods of mediation and reconciliation. Elders and spiritual leaders often serve as arbitrators, emphasizing restoration of harmony over punishment. This approach reflects the Biloxi belief in interconnectedness, that disharmony affects not just individuals but the whole community. Extended family gatherings, festivals, ceremonies, and communal work strengthen bonds and create continuity. These occasions are joyful affirmations of identity, where music, dance, and shared meals celebrate life's cycles and the tribe's enduring spirit. The arrival of European settlers and the pressures of colonization challenged these social structures, forced relocation, assimilation policies, and economic hardships strained family ties and threatened cultural continuity. Yet, the Biloxi's commitment to their kingship systems and traditions provided a foundation of resilience, allowing them to adapt without losing their core identity. Today, the Biloxi continue to honor these ties. Families remain close-knit, and clan affiliations are proudly maintained. Marriage customs blend traditional practices with modern realities, reflecting the tribe's evolving identity. Community elders remain vital, ensuring that the wisdom of the past informs the present. As the Biloxi face new challenges and opportunities, their social fabric remains a source of strength and guidance. It is a living testament to the power of connection, love, and shared responsibility. The Biloxi people, whose lives were intertwined with the Gulf Coast's rhythms, were not only skilled fishermen and artisans, but also fierce warriors, protecting their families, villages, and territories. Required courage, strategy, and a deep knowledge of the land and sea. This chapter reveals the story of Biloxi defense, how they crafted weapons, fought battles, and navigated the complex challenges of conflict. Both before and after European contact, imagine the shoreline at dawn. The mist rising off the water as Biloxi warriors silently ready their canoes, preparing to patrol or defend their homeland. The birchbark and cypress canoes were swift and agile, designed to navigate the shallow bays, winding rivers, and open Gulf waters alike. Their mastery of the water gave them a strategic advantage, able to approach unseen, strike quickly, and vanish into the reeds. The primary weapon of the Biloxi warrior was the bow and arrow, crafted with precision from locally sourced wood and sinew. Arrows were tipped with sharpened bone or stone, deadly and accurate. Skilled archers could defend their village or hunt game with equal effectiveness. Spears and clubs supplemented their arsenal, used for close combat or fishing. Warriors also employed traps and fortifications. Villages often had wooden palisades or natural barriers, designed to deter raids or invasions. The Biloxi's intimate knowledge of the landscape allowed them to use natural choke points and dense vegetation to their advantage. Their strategies emphasized protection and survival, not endless conquest. Conflict among tribes was complex, often revolving around resource disputes, territorial boundaries, and alliances. The Biloxi had to navigate shifting relationships with neighboring tribes, such as the Choctaw, Houma, and Tunica. While trade and intermarriage were common, so too were skirmishes and battles that tested their resolve and warrior skills. When European explorers and settlers arrived in the 16th and 17th centuries, the nature of conflict changed dramatically. The Biloxi faced not only rival tribes, but also foreign powers with new weapons and intentions. Early encounters involved cautious trade and uneasy alliances, but as colonial ambitions grew, so did tensions. The introduction of firearms altered the balance of power. While the Biloxi adapted to using muskets and pistols acquired through trade, they never abandoned traditional weapons or tactics. Their knowledge of stealth, guerrilla-style warfare, and use of terrain remained crucial in resisting domination during periods of colonization and territorial disputes. The Biloxi warriors became defenders of their people against encroachment. They participated in broader regional conflicts, allying with other tribes or European powers as circumstances demanded. Their goal was clear: protect their lands, preserve their culture, and ensure the survival of their families. Stories passed down through generations speak of battles fought with bravery and ingenuity. One tale tells of warriors using smoke from burning marshes to blind enemies, while another recounts nighttime raids launched from the river, using the cover of darkness and the river's currents as allies. These accounts reveal a people deeply connected to their environment, turning nature itself into a shield and weapon. Warriors were not just fighters, but leaders and protectors. They embodied values of honor, courage, and responsibility. Initiation rites marked the transition from youth to warrior, involving tests of endurance, skill, and spiritual readiness. These rites ensured that those who took up arms were prepared not only physically, but morally for the weight of their duties. The social structure supported the warrior's role. Families of warriors held respected positions, and their deeds were celebrated in song and story. Yet, the Biloxi balanced warfare with peace, valuing diplomacy and negotiation when possible. Conflict was a last resort, undertaken only when necessary to defend life and liberty. As European colonization intensified, the Biloxi faced increasing pressures: land loss, forced relocation, and population decline due to disease and violence. The warriors' fight became not only physical, but legal and cultural, defending treaty rights and tribal sovereignty, despite the devastating impacts of colonization. The spirit of the Biloxi warrior endures. Today, their legacy lives in the resilience and pride of the tribe. Ceremonies honor the bravery of ancestors, and stories inspire younger generations to carry forward the lessons of courage and protection. The warrior's path also reminds the Biloxi that strength is not only in battle, but in unity, wisdom, and the commitment to preserve culture and community. As the sun sets over the Gulf, casting long shadows on the water, the tribe prepares to remember another crucial chapter: their first encounters with strangers, and the complex dance of trade, trust, and betrayal that followed. The world the Biloxi had known for countless generations shifted dramatically with the arrival of strangers from across the ocean. The first European explorers and settlers came bearing unfamiliar technologies, ideas, and ambitions, forces that would forever alter the Biloxi way of life. This chapter explores the complex and often turbulent story of first contact, moments of curiosity, cautious trade, cultural exchange, and heartbreaking betrayal. It was the 16th century when Spanish and French ships began to sail the Gulf Coast, their sails billowing like great wings against the sky. The Biloxi watched these massive vessels with a mixture of awe and wariness, uncertain of the intentions behind their arrival. For the Biloxi, the sea was sacred and familiar. These new rivals were not. The world beyond their shores suddenly grew wider, stranger, and more dangerous. Early interactions were marked by trade and tentative diplomacy. The Biloxi, skilled navigators and traders themselves, engaged with Europeans exchanging goods, furs, shells, and food for metal tools, beads, and cloth. These exchanges brought new opportunities, but also new dependencies. Metal knives and axes, for instance, transformed everyday tasks, making hunting and building easier. Beads and cloth became prized adornments, symbols of status and connection. Language barriers complicated communication, but the Biloxi quickly learned to navigate this new world, adapting their practices and forming alliances. French explorers, particularly, cultivated relationships with Gulf Coast tribes, including the Biloxi, often marrying into families and participating in local customs. These alliances were vital for survival amid the rapidly changing landscape. Yet, alongside cooperation came conflict and misunderstanding. Europeans brought not only goods, but also diseases: smallpox, measles, and influenza that devastated native populations who had no immunity. The Biloxi population shrank dramatically within decades, disrupting communities and weakening social structures. This invisible enemy was more deadly than any weapon. European colonization also introduced new systems of land ownership and governance that clashed with Biloxi concepts of shared territory and stewardship. Where the Biloxi saw themselves as caretakers of the land and sea, Europeans claimed ownership through treaties and conquest. These ideas led to tension, confusion, and ultimately loss. The arrival of missionaries further complicated the cultural landscape. Christian efforts to convert the Biloxi sought to replace traditional spiritual beliefs with new doctrines. While some Biloxi embraced aspects of Christianity, many resisted, holding tightly to their ancestral practices. This spiritual push and pull created divisions within families and communities. Trade routes shifted as Europeans expanded inland and along the coast. The Biloxi found themselves caught between competing colonial powers, the French, Spanish, and later the British, each seeking alliances with different tribes to strengthen their claims. This period became one of political complexity, where survival often meant balancing allegiances carefully. Stories from this era speak of Biloxi leaders who navigated these challenges with diplomacy and strength. They negotiated treaties, forged alliances, and sought to protect their people's interests amid growing pressure. Yet, many agreements were misunderstood or broken, leaving the Biloxi vulnerable to exploitation. Despite these hardships, cultural exchange during first contact was not one-sided. The Biloxi shared knowledge of the land, waterways, and survival skills, influencing European settlers' understanding of the Gulf Coast. Foods native to the region, corn, beans, squash, and seafood became staples in European diets. The Biloxi's craftsmanship and navigational skills were also respected and learned from. The blending of cultures created new identities and traditions. Biloxi people who married Europeans or other tribes wove elements of these worlds together, forging communities that reflected diverse heritages. Yet, beneath these new forms lay the enduring core of Biloxi identity, rooted in the sacred relationship with their homeland. As European colonization intensified, the initial curiosity and exchange gave way to conflict, displacement, and cultural suppression. The Biloxi faced growing threats to their autonomy, lands, and traditions. But their resilience, grounded in centuries of connection to their environment and each other, sustained them through these dark times. The story of first contact is a story of transformation, of loss and adaptation, challenge and survival. It sets the stage for the trials that would follow and the enduring spirit that would carry the Biloxi forward. As the Gulf's tides continue to rise and fall, so too does the story of a people bound to the waters and lands, ever adapting, ever enduring. For the Biloxi people, the land was not just a place to live, it was a sacred gift, a source of identity, spirit, and sustenance. The shores, marshes, and forests of the Gulf Coast had nurtured them for generations, shaping their culture and community. But as European settlers' ambitions expanded, the Biloxi faced a relentless tide of displacement and upheaval that would fracture their world and scatter their people across unfamiliar lands. The first cracks appeared with broken treaties and the gradual encroachment of settlers. Colonial governments often ignored or violated agreements, claiming Biloxi territory for plantations, towns, and industries. The tribe's deep connection to the land was disregarded, replaced by legal systems that recognized ownership as private property rather than a sacred trust. Forced removal began in earnest during the 18th and 19th centuries. Biloxi families were pressured, coerced, or outright forced to leave ancestral villages. Some were relocated to less hospitable coastal regions, others moved inland, and many found themselves in new settlements far from home. Each move severed ties to familiar waters and sacred places, fracturing the community's social and spiritual fabric. The journey of displacement was brutal. Families traveled by foot, canoe, or wagon, often in harsh conditions and with little support. Disease, hunger, and exhaustion claimed many lives. For the Biloxi, the loss of their homeland was not just a physical exile, it was a spiritual wound. The land held memories of ancestors, the presence of spirits, and the roots of cultural practices. To lose it was to lose a part of themselves. Diaspora spread the Biloxi across the Gulf Coast and into the interior. Some found refuge among allied tribes, blending into new communities while maintaining distinct identities. Others struggled to re-establish villages in unfamiliar environments, adapting their lifeways to new resources and challenges. Despite separation, the bonds of kinship and culture endured, sustained by shared language, stories, and rituals. Amid this scattering, Biloxi people faced attempts to erase their culture. Assimilation policies pushed by state and federal governments sought to strip away language, traditions, and governance. Children were sent to boarding schools where their native identities were punished. These efforts aimed to sever the thread of cultural continuity, but the Biloxi resisted, preserving their heritage in secret and passing knowledge quietly within families. The trauma of displacement left scars that still echo today: loss of land, diminished population, and fractured communities. Yet, the Biloxi's spirit endured. Their stories speak of resilience in the face of sorrow, of families rebuilding homes and lives with determination. They adapted their ceremonies, language, and governance to new realities without abandoning the essence of who they were. Legal battles became a crucial front in the fight to reclaim rights and recognition. The Biloxi pursued treaties, land claims, and sovereignty, asserting their identity as a distinct nation despite centuries of marginalization. These struggles were not just political, they were deeply personal, tied to the survival of culture and community. In the diaspora, Biloxi families maintained cultural traditions as lifelines. Storytelling, language, and song became acts of resistance and preservation. Elders taught children the importance of their heritage, and ceremonies were held whenever possible to honor ancestors and renew spiritual connections. These acts kept the flame of Biloxi identity burning through dark times. Economic adaptation was also necessary. Many Biloxi took up work in fishing, farming, and crafts to support their families in new environments. They balanced the need to survive economically with the desire to maintain cultural practices, often blending old and new in creative ways. Today, the Biloxi nation is scattered yet united. Tribal members live across the Gulf Coast and beyond, connected by a shared history and ongoing efforts to revitalize language, culture, and governance. Despite the wounds of displacement, the community is vibrant and growing, reclaiming their place in the world with pride and strength. The story of displacement and diaspora is a testament to the Biloxi's endurance. It is a reminder that land and culture are deeply intertwined, and that even when forced apart, the spirit of a people can remain unbroken dot as the tide of history turns. The Biloxi continue to weave their scattered threads into a tapestry of renewal, drawing strength from the past to shape a hopeful future for the Biloxi people. The pulse of their culture beats in the songs sung by elders, the symbols etched into crafts, and the stories shared round flickering fires. In a world where displacement and change threatened to erase their identity, language, art, and storytelling became sacred threads connecting generations, preserving history, and keeping the spirit of the Biloxi alive. This chapter delves into the vibrant expressions of Biloxi culture, revealing how creativity and memory form the living heart of their heritage. Language is more than words. It is a vessel of worldview, history, and belonging. The Biloxi language, part of the Siwan family, holds the tribe's unique perspective of the world. Its sounds echo the rhythms of the natural environment, the rise and fall of waves, the rustle of leaves, and the call of birds. Each word carries layers of meaning, shaped by centuries of experience and reflection. For many years, the Biloxi language teetered on the edge of extinction. Forced assimilation and the dominance of English in schools and public life suppressed its use. But the desire to reclaim this precious part of identity inspired renewed efforts. Today, language classes, recordings, and immersion programs nurture new speakers, young and old alike. Each phrase learned is an act of resistance, a reaffirmation of heritage. Stories told in the Biloxi tongue are especially powerful. Oral tradition passes down creation tales, moral lessons, and histories that no written document can fully capture. These narratives are living entities, adapted for each generation yet faithful to their roots. They remind listeners of their connection to ancestors, the land, and each other. Storytelling events are communal gatherings where song, chant, and spoken word intermingle. Elders weave tales of heroic ancestors, tricksters, and sacred animals, each story layered with humor, wisdom, and cultural teaching. The performance itself is sacred, a moment when the tribe's collective memory breathes and renews. Art, too, carries deep cultural significance. The Biloxi's craftsmanship is renowned: delicate beadwork, intricate basketry, carved wood, and decorated pottery. These objects are not mere decorations, but carriers of symbolism, identity, and history. Patterns often incorporate animal motifs: turtles, eagles, or fish, each chosen for its spiritual meaning and clan association. Beadwork, in particular, is a treasured art form passed down through generations. Patterns are meticulously crafted, with colors and designs telling stories or marking important events. Beaded garments and accessories are worn during ceremonies, connecting the wearer to their ancestors and community. Basketry showcases the Biloxi's intimate knowledge of coastal plants, crafted from sweetgrass, palmetto, and other native materials. Baskets are both practical tools and artistic expressions. Each weave is a statement of skill and a tribute to the natural world that provides the materials. Carving wood and bone also holds ceremonial and daily importance. Figures representing spirits, ancestors, or animals are created with care, used in rituals, or kept as talismans. These carvings are physical manifestations of spiritual beliefs, bridging the tangible and intangible. Music plays a central role in cultural expression. Traditional Biloxi songs carry ancient rhythms, often accompanied by drums and rattles crafted from natural materials. These songs are more than entertainment, they are prayers, histories, and calls to community. Singing together fosters unity, healing, and celebration. Dances accompany the songs, each movement telling a story or invoking spiritual power. Costumes, painted bodies, and masks enhance the experience, embodying spirits or ancestral beings. Dance is a form of communication, a way to connect with the unseen and honor the tribe's heritage. In the face of cultural suppression, these artistic expressions became tools of survival. Even when forbidden or discouraged, the Biloxi kept their traditions alive in secret, teaching children in hushed tones, hiding ceremonial objects, and preserving songs in memory. This quiet resistance ensured that the essence of Biloxi culture endured. Modern Biloxi artists and storytellers continue this legacy, blending traditional forms with contemporary mediums. Poetry, painting, digital art, and film are new canvases where the tribe's history and identity find voice. These expressions reach beyond the tribe, educating others and asserting Biloxi presence in the wider world. Language revitalization projects often incorporate songs and stories, making learning immersive and joyful. Schools and cultural centers host workshops where elders teach youth not only to speak, but to sing and tell stories in Biloxi. These efforts build bridges between generations, reinforcing community bonds. Art markets and cultural festivals provide spaces where Biloxi craftspeople display their work, generating income while celebrating their heritage. These events invite outsiders to witness the tribe's creativity and resilience, fostering respect and understanding. The symbolism embedded in Biloxi art and language is a testament to a worldview that sees all life as interconnected. Each bead, story, and song honors ancestors, the land, and the spirits that guide the people. These expressions are living reminders of the tribe's enduring identity and hope. The Gulf of Mexico is not just a vast expanse of blue for the Biloxi. People, it is a living, sacred entity that has nurtured their ancestors for centuries. The waters, tides, and coastal ecosystems so woven into the fabric of Biloxi identity, culture, and spirituality. This chapter flows through the Biloxi's profound connection to the Gulf and reveals their ongoing commitment to environmental stewardship. A story of reverence, survival, and activism from the earliest days. The Biloxi understood that the health of the Gulf's waters was inseparable from their own well-being. The Gulf provided fish, shellfish, salt, and plants resources essential for daily life. But it was also a spiritual source, a place where the natural and supernatural realms met. The sea moods the ebb and flow of tides, the rising storms, and the gentle waves were seen as expressions of powerful spirits, deserving respect and gratitude. Imagine the sunrise over the Gulf's horizon, where the first light glimmers. On shimmering waters, early morning fishermen glide in their dugout canoes, casting nets into the water that has sustained their people for generations. The air is alive with the scent of salt and seaweed, the calls of pelicans and gulls echoing across the shore. This is a world where survival and spirituality merge. The Biloxi practiced sustainable fishing and harvesting techniques long before such ideas entered the modern environmental conversation. Nets and traps were carefully designed to catch only what was needed, allowing younger fish and shellfish to mature. Seasonal cycles dictated when certain species could be harvested, reflecting a deep understanding of nature's rhythms. This respect ensured the Gulf's bounty would continue to support generations. Salt, another precious resource, was harvested with reverence. The Biloxi gathered salt from evaporated seawater, using it not only for seasoning but also in rituals and preservation. Salt symbolized purification and life itself, a gift from the waters that must be honored. Beyond practical use, the Gulf was the setting for sacred ceremonies. The water's edge was a place of prayer, offering, and renewal. Families would bring gifts of food or crafted items to the shoreline, seeking blessings for health, successful harvests, or protection from storms. These rituals strengthened the spiritual bond between people and place, reinforcing a worldview that sees humans as part of a larger, living ecosystem. The Biloxi's environmental wisdom extended to the coastal landscapes, marshes, barrier islands, and forests that sheltered their villages. These areas provided vital habitat for fish, birds, and game, and acted as natural buffers against hurricanes and erosion. The tribe's intimate knowledge of these ecosystems informed how they built homes, traveled, and lived in harmony with nature. With the rise of European colonization and modern industry, the Biloxi's sacred waters faced unprecedented threats. Coastal development, pollution, overfishing, and climate change have damaged fragile ecosystems. These environmental changes have direct consequences for the tribe's cultural and physical survival, challenging their traditional ways of life. In response, the Biloxi have become fierce advocates for environmental stewardship and protection of their ancestral waters. Tribal leaders, scientists, and community members work tirelessly to monitor water quality, restore habitats, and promote sustainable resource management. They collaborate with government agencies, environmental groups, and neighboring tribes to safeguard the Gulf's health. Efforts to restore oyster reefs, marshlands, and fish populations are both ecological and cultural endeavors. Oyster reefs, once abundant, are crucial to filtering water and providing habitat. Their restoration helps revive the Gulf's productivity and restores traditional harvesting practices. These projects symbolize a larger commitment to healing the land and waters, a modern echo of ancient stewardship. The tribe's environmental activism also includes education and outreach. Schools teach children about the importance of the Gulf and conservation, connecting scientific knowledge with cultural values. Community events raise awareness about pollution and climate impacts, encouraging sustainable lifestyles and respect for the environment. The Biloxi view their environmental work as a continuation of their ancestors' sacred duty to care for the waters and lands that give life. This stewardship is not simply an obligation, but a source of pride and identity. Protecting the Gulf means protecting the tribe's past, present, and future. Spiritually, the waters remain a source of power and renewal. Rituals honoring the sea continue, especially during times of change or crisis. Ceremonies ask forgiveness for environmental harm and seek guidance for healing. These practices remind the community that human actions have consequences and that balance must be restored. The Biloxi story of environmental stewardship is a powerful testament to resilience and hope. It illustrates how indigenous knowledge and modern science can join forces to protect the natural world. It also highlights the deep spiritual connection that sustains the tribe's identity. Across centuries, the story of the Biloxi people is not only one of survival, but of revival. Resilient reclaiming of identity, culture, and sovereignty in the modern world. Centuries after displacement and marginalization, the Biloxi nation stands determined, breathing new life into their heritage through governance, education, and cultural renewal. This chapter traces the remarkable journey of revival, highlighting how tradition and innovation intertwine to forge a vibrant present and hopeful future. At the core of this revival is the reassertion of tribal sovereignty. The Biloxi nation has worked tirelessly to rebuild political structures that reflect their unique history and aspiration. Modern governance includes elected tribal councils, administrative departments, and legal systems designed to protect the tribe's rights and interests. These structures empower the Biloxi to manage resources, provide services, and represent their people in negotiations with state and federal governments. Sovereignty is more than political authority. It is a declaration of self-determination and cultural dignity. The Biloxi's governance initiatives emphasize restoring control over their ancestral lands, preserving natural resources, and maintaining the integrity of their community. Legal battles over land claims and treaty rights continue, but the tribe's unified voice grows stronger with each victory. Cultural revival is equally vital, recognizing that language, traditions, and ceremonies are the lifeblood of identity. The Biloxi have launched programs dedicated to revitalizing their heritage. Language classes and immersion schools nurture the Biloxi tongue, engaging both elders and youth. These programs are often intertwined with storytelling, song, and ritual, reinforcing the language's living spirit. Traditional crafts and arts have experienced a renaissance. Community workshops teach beadwork, basketry, carving, and other forms passed down through generations. These skills are not only cultural treasures, but sources of economic opportunity, allowing artisans to share their heritage with wider audiences through exhibitions and sales. Ceremonies and festivals, once disrupted by colonization, have been revived with great enthusiasm. Annual gatherings, powwows, and seasonal rituals offer spaces for celebration, healing, and intergenerational connection. These events attract not only tribal members, but also allies and supporters, fostering understanding and respect for Biloxi culture. Education is a cornerstone of revival. Tribal schools integrate traditional knowledge with contemporary curricula, preparing young Biloxi to navigate both worlds. Emphasis on history, spirituality, and environmental stewardship nurtures pride and responsibility. Scholarship programs encourage higher education, leadership, and careers that benefit the tribe. Health and social services have been enhanced under tribal governance, addressing long-standing disparities caused by historical trauma and marginalization. Holistic approaches that incorporate traditional healing alongside modern medicine offer culturally sensitive care. Community wellness initiatives promote mental health, substance abuse prevention, and family support. Economic development initiatives aim to create sustainable livelihoods while honoring cultural values. The Biloxi have invested in ventures such as ecotourism, cultural centers, and small businesses. These enterprises provide jobs and generate revenue, funding further cultural and social programs. Importantly, economic plans prioritize environmental stewardship and community well-being over unchecked growth. Youth engagement is at the heart of revival efforts. Programs encourage young people to learn their language, participate in ceremonies, and take active roles in governance and cultural leadership. Mentorship by elders connects generations, ensuring that knowledge and wisdom continue to flow. The energy and creativity of youth invigorate the tribe's future. Despite progress, challenges remain. The Biloxi continue to face legal and political hurdles, economic pressures, and the lingering effects of displacement and assimilation. However, their collective spirit, grounded in centuries of resilience, drives them forward. The revival is not just about reclaiming what was lost, but about crafting a future that honors the past while embracing new possibilities. The Biloxi's story of revival is a powerful example of how indigenous nations can heal, grow, and thrive. It is a journey marked by courage, wisdom, and unity, a testament to the enduring strength of culture and community. In the story of the Biloxi people, the voices of women resonate as the steady heartbeat of the tribe, nurturing, guiding, and sustaining community through generations. From matriarchs who hold family histories to healers who bridge the physical and spiritual realms, Biloxi women have shaped their nation's strength and resilience in profound and enduring ways. This chapter honors their vital roles, exploring the many ways Biloxi women have been leaders, caretakers, and keepers of culture. The family is the foundation of Biloxi life, and women have traditionally been central to its care and cohesion. Mothers, grandmothers, and aunts guide the upbringing of children, instilling language, customs, and values from the earliest moments. Through storytelling and daily teaching, they pass down knowledge that preserves the tribe's identity and worldview. Their hands weave baskets, prepare food, and create garments, all expressions of culture that carry deep meaning. Matriarchs, respected elder women, hold a revered place in the community. They are often the wisdom keepers, counselors, and decision makers within families and clans. Their experience and insight guide younger generations through the complexities of life, helping resolve conflicts and maintain harmony. These women are the living bridges between past and present, embodying the tribe's history and resilience. Healers, too, have been central to Biloxi's spiritual and physical well-being. Women who possess knowledge of medicinal plants, ceremonies, and healing rituals serve as conduits between the human and spirit worlds. Their healing practices combine herbal remedies with prayers, chants, and ceremonies designed to restore balance to individuals and families. These traditions are closely guarded and passed down through intimate mentorship, ensuring continuity across generations. Ceremonial life often centers around women's participation and leadership. In dances, rituals, and seasonal celebrations, women contribute their voices, movements, and creations beaded regalia, woven baskets, and sacred objects that enrich the spiritual fabric of the tribe. Their roles affirm the interconnectedness of community, nature, and spirit. Historically, Biloxi women also played vital roles in the tribe's governance and diplomacy, while men often served as warriors and negotiators. Women influenced decisions through their counsel and authority within families and clans. They could mediate disputes, advise leaders, and advocate for the community's welfare. This leadership was based on respect and collaboration, rooted in a deep understanding of balance and harmony. The arrival of European settlers and the pressures of colonization brought new challenges to Biloxi women. Forced assimilation, displacement, and cultural suppression threatened their traditional roles and practices. Missionary efforts often targeted women's spiritual authority, seeking to replace indigenous customs with foreign beliefs. Despite these pressures, many Biloxi women quietly preserved their knowledge and practices, adapting when necessary, but never surrendering their identity. In more recent history, Biloxi women have been at the forefront of cultural revival and political activism. They lead language revitalization programs, organize cultural events, and serve as educators and community leaders. Their efforts have been crucial in reasserting tribal sovereignty and promoting social justice. Women's voices have also shaped the narrative around healing from trauma, addressing issues such as substance abuse, domestic violence, and mental health with compassion and strength. Artistic expression remains a powerful domain for Biloxi women. Contemporary artists and craftswomen draw upon traditional techniques to create works that honor their heritage while engaging with modern themes. Their art communicates stories of survival, identity, and hope both within the tribe and to the wider world through exhibitions, workshops, and cultural festivals. These women assert their presence and pride. The importance of intergenerational relationships cannot be overstated. Elders mentor young women and girls, imparting not only skills, but also cultural values and spiritual understanding. This mentorship fosters a sense of belonging and responsibility, empowering youth to carry forward the tribe's legacy with confidence and vision. Family and community are sources of strength, but so too is individual resilience. Biloxi women have often balanced multiple roles: caretakers, leaders, artists, activists, navigating the complexities of tradition and modern life. Their stories reveal courage in the face of adversity and unwavering commitment to their people. As the Biloxi Nation moves forward, women continue to be vital pillars shaping education, governance, cultural preservation, and health initiatives. Their leadership ensures that the tribe's future is rooted in respect for the past and open to new possibilities. The story of Biloxi women is a story of quiet power, nurturing strength, and visionary leadership. It reminds us that culture lives not only in ceremonies or laws, but in the hearts and hands of those who carry it forward. The future of the Biloxi Nation shines brightly in the eyes of its young men and women who carry the weight of their history with pride and the promise of renewal. After centuries of hardship, displacement, and cultural suppression, the next generation stands as a vibrant force of innovation, creativity, and hope. This chapter celebrates the Biloxi youth, their role in shaping the tribe's future, and the ways they blend tradition with modern life to build a thriving community. In communities spread along the Gulf Coast and beyond, Biloxi youth engage with their heritage in inspiring ways. Language revitalization is a centerpiece of their cultural reclamation. Immersion programs teach children to speak and understand Biloxi, reconnecting them to their ancestors' voices. In classrooms, traditional stories are told alongside modern subjects, fostering pride and identity while preparing students to navigate the broader world. Technology plays a surprising but essential role in this revival. Young Biloxi use social media, digital storytelling, and multimedia art to share their culture with global audiences. Online platforms become spaces to teach language, promote cultural events, and connect tribal members across distances. This digital engagement creates new opportunities for collaboration and education, bridging generations, and geographies.education beyond the tribal schools is equally important. Many Biloxi youth pursue higher education, often in fields that serve their community's law, environmental science, education, health, and the arts. Scholarships and mentorship programs support these aspirations, recognizing that the tribe's future leaders must be well prepared to advocate for sovereignty and cultural preservation. The arts flourish as a vital outlet for expression and identity. Young Biloxi artists blend traditional motifs with contemporary styles, exploring themes of history, displacement, resilience, and hope. Music, dance, painting, and writing become powerful tools to assert identity and challenge stereotypes. Cultural festivals showcase youth talents, offering spaces where creativity and community pride intertwine. Sport and physical activity also hold cultural and social significance. Traditional games and modern sports alike provide arenas for teamwork, leadership, and health. These activities strengthen community bonds and encourage wellness, celebrating the vitality of the next generation. Youth activism has emerged as a crucial force in shaping the Biloxi's future, inspired by their elders' struggles and fueled by modern tools. Young people advocate for environmental protection, tribal rights, and social justice. Their voices are heard in tribal councils, public forums, and beyond, signaling a dynamic and engaged citizenry ready to carry forward the tribe's mission. At the heart of this renewal is a profound respect for tradition. Youth participate in ceremonies, learn crafting skills, and engage in storytelling sessions with elders. These practices ground them in their heritage, fostering a strong sense of belonging and responsibility. The blending of old and new creates a living culture that is both rooted and adaptable. Family and community support remain essential. Parents, elders, and mentors guide young people, offering wisdom and encouragement. Intergenerational dialogue strengthens identity and nurtures resilience. This network ensures that youth do not walk their path alone, but with the strength of their ancestors behind them. Challenges remain, of course. The pressures of modern life, economic uncertainty, social disparities, and cultural loss are real. But the Biloxi youth approach these obstacles with determination and creativity. They harness education, community, and culture as tools for empowerment, crafting solutions that honor their past while embracing the future. This chapter is not just about survival, it is about thriving. The Biloxi youth embody the tribe's enduring spirit, proving that culture is alive, evolving, and potent. Their stories inspire hope that the Biloxi Nation will continue to grow, flourish, and influence the world around them. As the sun rises again over the Gulf Coast, it illuminates a new chapter for the Biloxi, one written with courage, innovation, and deep love for their people and land. The future is theirs to shape, carrying forward this sacred fire lit by generations before. The journey of the Biloxi, from birth along the sacred waters to the vibrant pulse of today's youth, is a testament to resilience, connection, and the unbreakable bonds between past, present, and future. This concludes our story of the Biloxi Nation, a living legacy of spirit, strength, and hope flowing like the waters of their ancestral shore.
Beneath the turquoise shimmer of Lake Sonoma lie the bones of 6 Pomo villagers, their graves drowned in 1983 when Warm Springs Dam swallowed 86,000 ancestral acres. Today, the Dry Creek Rancheria band of Pomo Indians lives on just 93 acres perched above California wine country, running a casino that funds the fight to save an endangered language, while bitter membership battles threaten to tear the tribe apart. This is the story of a people who lost their homeland twice and still refuse to vanish. That the water glitters like glass above a grave. But beneath Lake Sonoma's shining surface lie more than fish and forgotten rocks. There are bones, they're real ones, buried beams of roundhouses, pieces of grinding stones, fragments of a life once lived in rhythm with the land. The Dry Creek Valley didn't just drown, it was silenced, and that silence still hums beneath the reservoir's breathless surface. Before the dam came, there were villages, 6 of them, scattered along the banks of Dry Creek. For generations, families cooked by open fires, children played between oak trees, and elders passed on stories in the cool shadow of the hills. Acorns were ground into mush by moonlight. Songs were sung into the wind. Everything had its place, and the people belonged to the land like roots belong to soil. Then one day, that land was no longer theirs. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers arrived with papers and promises. They said the dam would bring safety from floods, that it would create a lake, a source of recreation and water. But for the Dry Creek Rancheria band of Pomo Indians, it meant losing everything that wasn't already taken. Burial sites, sacred spaces, their history, still pulsing in the soil, was about to be buried under concrete and water. They tried to fight it. They wrote letters, stood in meetings, pleaded with officials in town halls. They spoke of ancestors who still lay in the hills. They warned that spirits don't stay quiet when their homes are disturbed. But their voices were smaller than the machines, and one by one their arguments were ignored. So they did the only thing they could do. They remembered as bulldozers came rumbling through the valley. Tribal elders stood on hillsides and prayed. They marked the places where their relatives lay. Some helped archaeologists dig up bones graves, unearthed not with reverence but with cold precision. Skulls were boxed. Beads were catalogued. What couldn't be removed was left behind, to be swallowed by the rising flood. And then the water came. It didn't roar. It crept slowly, patiently, like it knew it was taking something precious. The dam filled the valley inch by inch, day by day. Trees disappeared first, then rocks, then the memories. By the time it was done, 86,000 acres of homeland were gone. All that remained was a glittering surface and a sign that read Lake Sonoma. For tourists, it became a place to fish and sail, a spot for wedding photos and weekend swims. But for the people of Dry Creek Rancheria, it was a wound. Every ripple on the lake was a story they could no longer tell. Every boat that passed overhead drifted above something sacred. Some who lived through it refused to go near the lake even now. "It feels wrong," one elder whispered, "like I'm standing on someone's chest." Others go there only to remember. They bring their children and point to the water. "That's where your great-grandmother lived. That's where our roundhouse stood." The words hang heavy, knowing the children will never truly see it. But memory doesn't drown. It survives in stories. In the way cedar smoke rises during prayer, in old songs sung in trembling voices. In the act of returning again and again to the shoreline, not to reclaim the land, but to honor it. And so, every year, as part of their mourning and remembrance, tribal members gather above the lake. They offer tobacco. They light candles. They speak the names of those who once walked those hills. In the hush between wind and water, they feel them, those who came before, still listening, still watching, just beneath the surface. Because even though the valley is gone, the people are not. The reservoir may have buried the bones, but it could not bury the soul. And the soul remembers. Just beyond that shimmering lake, a new chapter is waiting to be told, one that begins not with loss, but with the land as it once was. Before the flood, before the dam, before the silence. A valley where roundhouses stood tall, and life bloomed beneath ancient oak trees. A time when Dry Creek was not just a name but home, before wine country, before tasting rooms and silver, SUVs winding down sunlit roads, before Dry Creek became a postcard of rustic luxury. There was something older, wiser, wilder. The valley once breathed a different rhythm, quiet, sacred, and deeply alive. It was a homeland long before it was a destination. The Dry Creek Valley, nestled between soft ridges of what we now call Sonoma County, was once a cradle of oak, river, and ceremony. Salmon leaped through crystalline waters. Elk moved in herds, ghosts between the trees. Children chased shadows among manzanita, and women sang while grinding acorns on flat stones, their voices rising in unison with the wind. It wasn't quiet, and it wasn't still, but it was peaceful. And every sound, every shape, every moment had meaning. The Pomo people lived not above the land, but within it. They built their roundhouses into the soil itself, warm in winter and cool in summer, their domed rooftops blending seamlessly with the earth. Thick bundles of willow, tule, and sedge shaped the homes, each one handmade, each one different, each one remembered. Fire pits crackled inside, not just for cooking, but for story sharing, mourning, and dreaming. The rhythm of daily life followed the seasons. In spring, families gathered sweet clover and wildflowers, their fingers stained yellow by pollen. In summer, they fished from woven reed canoes, calling to the steelhead with chants passed down through time. Autumn meant acorns, collected in deerskin bags, sorted by hand, bleached clean, and ground into a nourishing paste. Even in winter, life did not pause. Snow rarely came, but the cold brought silence, and with it, reflection. Stories deepened, dreams lengthened, and rituals turned inward. Every act had purpose. A basket wasn't just for carrying, it was a map of memory. A child's cradleboard wasn't just a place to rest, it was a prayer for a strong back and a brave heart. The valley was more than a setting. It was a living, breathing member of the family. Women were the carriers of continuity. They wove the baskets, sang the lullabies, prepared the food, and carried the names. They trained the next generation in patience, in observation, in strength disguised as quiet. Men hunted, carved, and protected, but it was women who held time together. Marriage wasn't just a union, it was an agreement between clans, a bridge between stories. Children learned young how to listen, how to track, how to read the sky like a calendar. They weren't told to be quiet, they were told to notice. They could name the birds by their shadows. They could read the river's depth by the way a stick floated. Before there was school, there was everything, Dodd, and above them all, towering and eternal, were the oaks. The trees were not just trees. They were ancestors, teachers, life-bringers. They fed the people not once, but always, and the people, in return, asked permission before harvesting, sang thanks while gathering, and left offerings at the roots. This was not superstition, it was respect, and that respect kept the valley whole. There were no fences, no deeds, no ownership. Instead, there were songs that mapped the hills, songs that remembered who lived where, and songs that told travelers how to move through another's territory with grace. The Pomo didn't take land. They belonged to it. But time moves. Even in paradise, the first wagon wheel would not come for centuries, but change was already in the wind. Still, here in this moment, before the fences, before the floods, before the vineyard rose chased away the oak, the Dry Creek Valley held a people in its arms, safe, whole, and home. Now, the echoes of that life hide beneath vineyards and tasting rooms, in places where tourists sip and stroll, never knowing what lies just beneath the roots. But if you pause, if you truly listen, you might still hear the footfall of a child chasing leaves, or the laughter of a grandmother crushing acorns in her palms, because the valley hasn't forgotten, and neither have the people just ahead. The story deepens. The world is about to change. Foreign ships will land on distant shores, and new faces will arrive, carrying promises and plagues. What was once a sacred rhythm will be disrupted by footsteps that do not sing. And for the first time, the people of Dry Creek will be asked to trade their language, their land, and their lives for glass, beads, and fur. Long before missionaries raised wooden crosses, and long before prayers came dressed in Latin, the Pomo already walked with spirits. Not in metaphor, not in legend, but in everyday life, woven into breath, sleep, and silence. In the world of the Dry Creek Rancheria, reality was never just what you could touch. Dreams had weight, shadows had voices, and above all, there was Kuksu. Kuksu was not a god in the way outsiders imagined. He was a presence half man, half spirit who lived just above the clouds, where light bends and stars are born. He came down in ceremony, in masks, in movement, and in song. His name was whispered in smoke and chanted into the ground. He was the healer, the judge, the bringer of balance, and to walk with Kuksu was to know the world not through facts, but through feeling. The dreamers, those rare few chosen to speak with the sky people, were trained from childhood, not with books, not with sermons, but with fasting, stillness, and silence. They learned to listen to the river's song. At night, they trained their minds to walk without feet, to reach beyond skin. These were not myths, they were responsibilities, and failure meant sickness, imbalance, even death. At the heart of this spiritual world were the roundhouse's great underground chambers, half buried, half sky. In the center, a fire burned through every ritual. The roof was shaped like a turtle's shell, the smoke hole opening toward the stars. This was the place where Kuksu arrived, not in thunder, but in footsteps. When he came, the dancers wore long, feathered capes. Their faces were hidden behind carved wooden masks, painted in white, red, or black. The eyes were always still, never blinking, never human. The dancers moved in spirals, slow and measured, as the drums pulsed like a second heartbeat. Around them, the people sang, not lyrics, but calls, ancient syllables that echoed through the bones more than the ears. Everything had meaning. The feathers, the direction of the dance, the ashes in the fire pit, even the silence held truth. These ceremonies were not performances, they were negotiations between this world and the next, between sickness and health, between chaos and peace, and Kuksu was not alone. There were the sky people beings who lived above the dome of the world. Condor, the great watcher. Coyote, the trickster who made mistakes so humans would learn. Hummingbird, who carried the first fire in his beak. These were not just animals. They were ancestors, teachers, warnings. Every child in the village grew up hearing stories of the time when humans and spirits still spoke plainly, when dreams could open doors, when a song sung in the right key could bring back the rain. Even now, elders remember those stories, not as fantasy, but as fact whispered down like family names. The dreamers knew how to find answers in illness. When a child was sick, they did not look first to herbs. They asked, who was offended? What spirit has been ignored? Healing was not just of the body. It was of the soul, of the air, of the land. And so they sang and smoked, and listened until balance returned. There were stories too of people who walked too far, who dreamed too deeply, and did not return. Not in madness, but in transformation. Some came back, changed, speaking in riddles, laughing at nothing, hearing words no one else could hear. They were not feared, they were honored, because they had seen the edge. Over time, missionaries and settlers tried to erase the dreamers. They called the Kuksu dances devil's rituals. They banned the ceremonies, burned the roundhouses, forced the masks underground. But what they didn't understand is that belief doesn't burn. It waits, it burrows, it survives. And so today, in secret groves and candlelit rooms, the Kuksu songs still live. Some are returning openly, in public dances, in school curriculums, in whispered lullabies. The dreamers are not gone. They are waking again slowly, defiantly. The Dry Creek people never needed books to hold their theology. The sky was their scripture, the drum their sermon, the wind their altar, and now, as the drums fade into silence, the earth begins to shift. There's a rumble in the distance. New faces are coming, faces from across the sea. They do not speak. In dreams, they speak in demands. They come in ships, in boots, in smoke, and they will not ask permission to enter the sacred valley. It began with the scent of salt and smoke on the wind, something unfamiliar, something not born of the valley. The year was 1812, and through the fog rolling off the Pacific came the sound of hammering, laughter, and foreign songs. The Pomo scouts watched from the ridge as strangers in heavy coats built wooden walls on the coast. Not Spaniards, not soldiers, these were Russians. Fort Ross rose from the earth like something summoned. Its sharp timbers, its chimneys spitting fire into the sky, stood in stark contrast to the soft curves of the land. These newcomers didn't come with Bibles or gunpowder trails, not at first. They came for otter pelts, and to the Pomo that made them strange but not immediately threatening. There is a diary reconstructed from oral tradition of a young Pomo observer, no more than 16. He writes not with ink, but in memory. They arrived with fish, not war. They smiled with their eyes. They gave us red beads for food. The exchanges were cautious. The Russians offered iron tools, buttons, and flour. In return, the Pomo gave fish, hides, and knowledge of the land. It was not peace, it was calculation. The Russians needed labor, and slowly they turned to the Pomo for help. Timber had to be cut, skins had to be cleaned, boats needed hands. Some went willingly, hopeful, others were taken. The line between alliance and coercion blurred like the fog on the cliffs. The Russians may not have arrived with violence, but they brought with them another kind of storm, disease. Smallpox came quietly, a cough, a fever, then rows of bodies laid on mats, faces covered in rashes. Entire villages emptied without warning. The Pomo had no medicine for this kind of spirit, no ceremony strong enough to cleanse a sickness that came with skin contact and breath. The Russians did not understand. The morning dances. They did not understand the silence after dot. And yet, this chapter is not one of simple destruction. It is one of complexity of cautious partnership. Some Pomo learnt the Russian language. Some entered relationships. Some children were born who carried both bloodlines in their veins. There were moments of laughter. There were shared meals. There were firelit nights when music from both worlds echoed across the waves. Still, unease grew. The Russians, though different from the Spanish, missionaries pressing inland, were not immune to conquest. As Fort Ross expanded, so too did its hunger. More pelts, more timber, more hands, and when resources thinned, violence returned sometimes from rival tribes, sometimes from Cossack enforcers. Trust became a currency too expensive to trade. Meanwhile, over the hills, the Spanish missions marched closer. With them came soldiers, priests, shackles. The Pomo knew the stories, of villages emptied and children taken, of languages banned and songs silenced. The Russians were not saints, but they were, in their way, a buffer. And when Fort Ross began to falter under pressure from the Empire, from isolation, from failing crops, the Pomo braced for what might come next. The young diarist's final entry reads simply, "The ship is gone, the fire is cold, their wall stands, but their eyes do not return. By 1841, the Russians had sold Fort Ross and abandoned the coast, sailing north toward Alaska. What they left behind were tools, memories, mixed families and warning signs. For the Dry Creek Pomo, the Russian chapter was brief but formative. It taught them the cost of cooperation. It showed them the weight of a handshake that comes with expectations. It showed them that even those who bring gifts carry shadows in their wake. Now, as we leave the coast and turn inland once more, a louder force is arriving. It does not trade. It does not hesitate. It is driven by gold and God and empire. The flood is coming, not water this time, but men in boots, their eyes on the hills and rivers. The Dry Creek Valley will never be the same. The next chapter is written not in diaries, but in blood. It came like lightning fast, blinding and impossible to stop. In 1848, a nugget the size of a peach pit changed California forever. Within months, the hills around Dry Creek echoed with the clatter of pickaxes and foreign tongues. The gold rush had arrived, and for the Dry Creek Pomo, it was not fortunate, it was apocalypse. The first wave came with tents and shovels. Men from every corner of the world descended on the land like a swarm. They dug without asking. They dammed rivers that once fed salmon to entire villages. The creeks turned thick with silt. Fish floated belly up, poisoned by mercury and crushed rock. What was once clear and sacred became ruined in a season. The valley transformed into chaos. What had been a land of rhythm and balance was now broken by shouts, gunfire, and disease. Miners brought whiskey and violence in equal measure, and in their eyes, the Pomo were not people, they were obstacles, trespassers, wild animals on stolen property. Some Pomo tried to trade, offering baskets and labor in exchange for flour or tools. Others watched from the tree line, silent, mourning what they already knew was lost. A few struck back, sabotaging equipment, leading intruders astray, protecting sacred sites. But the numbers were overwhelming. For every claim staked a forest was cleared. For every ounce of gold, a prayer ground was buried. And then came the massacres. In 1850, California passed a law legalizing the removal land, even killing of native people. Bounties were paid for scalps. Militias, some funded by the state, swept through the countryside, hunting down entire villages. One such horror unfolded at Bloody Island. The story is passed down with trembling voices. A group of Pomamos, women, children, and elders had sought refuge on an island in Clear Lake, far from Dry Creek, but close in kinship. Soldiers arrived under the cover of dawn. They opened fire without warning. Canoes were overturned as people tried to flee into the water. Babies were shot in their mothers' arms. By the time it ended, over 100 Pomo were dead. Their only crime was existing. Survivors ran. Some scattered into the forests of Mendocino. Others followed the old trails back to Dry Creek, carrying grief heavier than any gold. They brought stories of betrayal, of blood-soaked reeds, of laughter that turned into screams. These stories became lessons. Trust no one, hide the children, bury the sacred deep. The valley fell into a kind of haunted stillness. Roundhouses were abandoned, songs were sung in whispers. The once vibrant acorn groves stood silent, untouched. Even the animals seemed to vanish. What had taken thousands of years to build relationships with land, spirits, animals, and sky had been shattered in a single decade. And yet, somehow, life did not vanish completely. In the hills, in hidden pockets of earth, small families remained. They lived in makeshift shelters, traveled by night, avoided roads. They cooked with stones, wove with sedge, prayed to the old spirits who now seemed so far away. Some married outsiders, some took on new names to survive. But in the hush of twilight, they still told the stories. And stories, like seeds, find ways to grow even in scorched ground. The gold rush made millionaires of men who'd never before held a shovel. It built cities, railroads, and empires. But it also buried hundreds of villages beneath its glittering promise. And the Dry Creek poem, like so many tribes, were written out of the headlines, left only in footnotes, or not at all, but history, like the earth, holds memory. And if you dig beneath the vineyards and tasting rooms, if you press your ear to the wind that whistles through the oaks, you can still feel it, the echo of the old songs, the breath of those who refused to be erased. The gold is long gone, but the wounds remain. And now, as the rush fades and the boom quiets, the government begins to offer something unexpected: land. Not the land taken, but land deemed unusable, rocky, dry, unwanted, just enough for survival. And so, the Dry Creek Pomo gather once more, not as a nation, not yet, but as families ready to rebuild on a patch of earth no one else wanted. A new beginning born from the ashes. It wasn't a valley, it wasn't a forest, it wasn't even close to what had been taken. It was a patch 93 acres of steep, rugged land the federal government had deemed unusable for farming or settlement. But to the Dry Creek Pomo, it was something, and after years of hiding, mourning, and surviving in the shadows, something was better than nothing. The year was 1915. After decades of Lowe's massacres, removals, and legal erasure, the government offered slivers of land back to displaced tribes under what it called ranch. These were not reservations. They came with no protections, no resources, and no recognition of sovereignty. Just land, dry, isolated, mostly useless. But the Pomo saw more than rock and scrub. They saw a chance to root themselves again. The new Dry Creek Rancheria lay in the hills above Geyserville, tucked between boulders and brittle grasses. No river, no acorn groves, no salmon runs, but it had space to breathe, to build, to exist without fear. Families began arriving with little, more than woven baskets, Castile pans, and the stories they had kept hidden for years. They brought babies, elders, tools wrapped in cloth, and together they started over. The first homes were shacks, blank walls, dirt floors, tar paper roofs. They built them with their own hands, hammering through the heat, patching leaks with scraps. Chickens wandered the paths. Peach trees were planted in shallow soil. Children carried water up the hill in rusted cans. There was no plumbing, no electricity, no steady work, but there was laughter, there was singing, and for the first time in a generation, there was space to simply be. They named it Dry Creek, not because of the land's thirst, but because the name carried memory, a way to tie the broken present to a past that still whispered in dreams. The name was an anchor, and the people held fast to it. Families lived in clusters, watching out for one another. Women gathered to weave baskets and pass on techniques nearly lost in the chaos of colonization. Men hunted small game or took day jobs in town when they could. Some walked miles to work in vineyards ironic, perhaps to labor among the very crops that had once erased their forests. Still, they worked, and they endured. Children grew up learning to worlds. At home, they heard Pomo words round the fire, learned to bead, to carve, to listen for birdsong. At school, they were punished for their names, their accents, their histories, told to speak only English, told their people were gone. But each evening, they returned to the patch where grandmothers waited with warm food and quiet correction. "We are not gone," they said. "We are here." There was beauty in the struggle. Mornings filled with smoke curling from chimneys. Stories told over split firewood. The smell of fry bread and acorn mush mingling with the wind. On Sundays, families gathered in small makeshift chapels or in open clearings, combining Christian hymns with ancient blessings. Faith, like land, was adapted into something new. Still, life was fragile. Without federal recognition or stable rights, the people of Dry Creek had no access to health care, no housing support, no tribal infrastructure. They were legally invisible. If their homes burned, no one came. If they fell ill, there were no clinics to call. Survival rested entirely in community. But within that hardship bloomed something sacred, self-reliance. Every repair made with salvaged nails. Every meal stretched from canned beans and wild greens. Every child taught how to endure, how to find pride in what others called poverty. The government rarely visited. When it did, it brought clipboards, not aid. Officials took notes, measured plots, filed papers, then disappeared again. But the people stayed. They raised children, buried elders. They waited, and they remembered. By mid-century, the world outside had changed. Cities were expanding. Tourists came north, sipping wine and snapping photos of landscapes once filled with roundhouses. But here on the patch called Dry Creek, something quieter was growing. A sense of identity, a whisper of resurgence, a belief that even after a century of exile, this sliver of land could be more than a graveyard of memory. It could be the seed of a future. And as children chased each other between weathered porches, as grandmothers picked sedge from roadside ditches to keep the weaving alive, a different storm was brewing this time on paper. A new policy was coming from Washington, one that didn't aim to help but to erase once again. Termination, they called it. The promise of freedom, the threat of disappearance. And for the people of Dry Creek, the battle for survival was about to leave the land and move into the courtroom. It arrived not on horseback, not with rifles or chains, but in an envelope. A letter folded neatly, stamped with the seal of the United States government. Inside, it said what centuries of violence had tried and failed to do. You are no longer a tribe. In the 1950s, federal policy shifted again. After years of neglecting native communities, Washington decided that the solution wasn't supported with severance. They called it termination. A word that sounded like an end because that's exactly what it was. Tribal recognition, gone. Federal protections, gone. Health services, housing programs, legal sovereignty are erased with a single pen stroke. And for the Dry Creek Rancheria, the consequences were both immediate and invisible. No soldiers came. No agents arrived to drag people off their land. The government didn't even set foot on the ranch. They just sent papers, legal notices, bureaucratic vanishing spells. For many, the letters made little sense. Written in legalese, they offered freedom from dependency and a return to individual rights. But what they really meant was this: you are now on your own, entirely. At first, there was confusion, then anger, then silence. An elder named Thomas Quiet, strong, a veteran of World War II, sat by his stove and read the notice aloud to his wife. Then, slowly, He tore it into strips and fed it to the fire. "If they want to forget us," he said, "then let them choke on smoke." His neighbors followed suit. Some burned theirs. Others tucked them into drawers like curses they were too afraid to speak aloud. But denial didn't stop reality. Without tribal status, the community lost access to Indian health services. Clinics turned them away. Schools that had once offered limited tribal grants now labeled their children ineligible. Tribal gatherings, once protected, now risked being shut down for violating local noise ordinances or fire codes. They were no longer a tribe in the eyes of the government, just families on a hillside, a community without a name. Some within the tribe tried to fight back. They drove hours to county buildings, sat through meetings filled with indifference. They wrote letters, filed petitions. Most were ignored. Termination is final, they were told. You've been set free, but freedom from identity isn't liberating. Erasure and the damage ran deep. Elders who had taught basket weaving stopped gathering sedge. What was the point? Children who once learned Pomo words at home now spoke only English, ashamed of accents their teachers mocked. Ceremonies grew quiet. Stories stopped mid-sentence. And even within the rancheria, a new kind of fracture began to spread, one born not from outsiders, but from confusion, grief, and the slow exhaustion of being forgotten. Still, something stirred in the dust. In the early 1970s, a small group of tribal members began gathering at night around kitchen tables, in old cars, behind closed doors. They had no lawyers, no resources, but they had memory. They remembered the valley before the vineyards. They remembered the acorn groves, the roundhouses, the massacre stories, the baskets that held water, and most of all, they remembered who they would. So they organized, not with fanfare, but with persistence. They studied policy, made calls, reached out to other tribes facing the same silent war. Across California, a movement was building small sparks that would become wildfire. In 1979, the court case Tilly Hardwick v. United States changed everything. It challenged the legality of termination. It opened the door for tribes like Dry Creek to regain recognition. It didn't happen overnight. The process dragged on for years. Paperwork piled higher than roundhouse roofs. Elders passed away waiting. Children grew up not knowing what had been lost. But eventually, something shifted. The government began to listen not out of guilt, but out of legal necessity. Dry Creek Rancheria was restored to federal recognition in the early 1980s. There were no parades, no headlines, just a quiet exhale. The shield was mended, but it bore cracks that would never fully heal. And yet, that fragile shield was enough. It meant healthcare. It meant schooling. It meant the right to speak openly, to organize, to dream again. It meant that the tribe was no longer a ghost in the legal system. They were alive. And they would not go quietly again. But new challenges were rising. How do you rebuild a culture after decades of forced forgetting? How do you pass on traditions that nearly vanished in silence? And how do you shape a future when the past was interrupted? A basket is not just something you carry, it's something you become. In the hands of the Pomo, baskets are sacred maps. They hold food, yes, but they also hold bloodlines, blessings, and buried prayers. And for the children of Dry Creek Rancheria, the path back to identity didn't start with politics or protest. It began with a handful of sedge, a strand of willow, and a memory too strong to stay hidden. Long before the land was flooded, before roundhouses were burned, and before their tribe was declared terminated, Pomo women were master weavers, so skilled in fact that early anthropologists called their work perfect, a backhanded compliment, as if beauty could only be real once white eyes had seen it. Their baskets were so tightly woven they could hold water, so delicately detailed they rivaled jewelry. Some were made for harvest, others for ceremony. Some were burial baskets, never to be touched again, and some were baby cradles, lined with soft feathers and pine resin, meant to wrap a newborn in history. But by the time the 20th century turned its gears, the baskets began to disappear. Not because the materials were lost, but because the silence had grown too loud. Girls were sent to boarding schools. English was enforced. Hands that once twisted sedge were told to clean floors and fold linen. Baskets were sold to tourists or locked away in museum glass. And the art, once passed from grandmother to granddaughter by firelight, began to flicker. Still, something held on in the 1970s and 80s. As tribal status was slowly restored and voices returned to the valley, a quiet revolution began, not in courtrooms, but in classrooms, living rooms, and under open skies. Elders who had kept their skills hidden for decades began to teach again. They opened trunks, pulled out half-finished coil work, and showed the children what had been nearly lost. Willow was gathered at dawn, near creeks where mosquitoes bit and silence ruled. Sedge root was dug carefully, stripped into long ribbons, then soaked until it bent without breaking. Dye was made from crushed berries, charred acorns, and sun-baked minerals. Every strand, every stitch, every turn of the hand held meaning. Patterns weren't just designs, they were stories. Diamonds meant daughters. Rings stood for the circle of generations. Sharp triangles warned of hardship. Smooth spirals whispered. Hope to learn basketry was to relearn how to see. Young girls sat cross-legged beside their aunties, fingertips raw from hours of weaving. Boys joined, breaking the mold, reclaiming what colonization had divided. The work wasn't fast. Sometimes it took months, but speed wasn't the goal. Each basket was a resurrection. Each coil a sentence in a language that didn't need words. One teenage girl, only 14, was given her grandmother's unfinished baby basket. The grandmother had died before completing it. No one touched it for years. But when the girl finally lifted it from its blanket, something shifted. She didn't just finish the basket. She added her own Mark III red dots, stitched into the rim. "For the sisters I haven't met yet," she said, "so they know we were never erased." Schools began offering basket classes, not as electives, but as acts of survival. Teachers brought in elders. Museums returned pieces, long kept in storage. What was once lost became sacred again. And for the youth of Dry Creek, it wasn't just about craft, it was about healing. About reclaiming the past, stitch by stitch, until the threads could carry the future. Even the tools told stories. Awls made from deer bone, stones blackened by old fires, reeds gathered from places that once held villages. To weave was to walk backward and forward at once. It was time travel in your hands. Some of these baskets never leave the home, others are sold to keep the lights on. A few are sent to exhibitions where strangers stare in wonder. But no matter where they go, each one holds a secret, that the Dry Creek Pomo are still here, still weaving, still remembering, still resisting in the quietest, most powerful way possible. And just as the baskets began to bloom again, the land itself stirred. The lake that drowned the old villages was rising in the minds of lawmakers. Engineers, politicians, and tribal voices were about to collide in a battle of soil, spirit, and sovereignty. Because what good is a basket if the ground beneath it is no longer yours? The dam was coming, and this time it wouldn't just threaten history, it would take the bones of the ancestors themselves. It was a dam built for safety. That's what the papers said. A structure to tame the floods, preserve the vineyards, and promise water to the thirsty future of Sonoma County. But for the Dry Creek Pomo, the Warm Springs Dam was not a promise. It was a funeral. The plan came. In the 1960s, drawn in ink far from the land it would flood, engineers pointed to the valley as unproductive, underutilized, ideal for impoundment. They saw only numbers, elevations, water lines. They did not see the bones beneath the soil. They did not see the earth ovens still buried, or the dance grounds where ancestors once moved in spirals of fire and feathers. They did not ask who had loved that land before them. Construction began in the 1970s. Bulldozers rolled in, flattening hills and carving out the basin. Tribal members watched from the edges, helpless. They had no legal claim to the land anymore. It had been taken, long ago sold, subdivided, stripped of memory by deeds and zoning laws. But the memory itself hadn't left, and when the ground was torn open, it bled history, human remains, surfacing thousands of years old. Beads, obsidian blades, bones wrapped in deer hide. These weren't artifacts, they were relatives, and they were exhumed not with reverence, but with excavation crews under deadline. The Army Corps of Engineers called it salvage archaeology. They catalogued, boxed, and shipped bones to university labs. For many Pomo families, it was the second time their ancestors had been dug up, first by gold rush grave robbers, now by federally funded construction crews. Some remains were reburied, others vanished into archives and shelves, and the land once a cradle of story was scraped raw. Protests rose, but they came too late. The dam was nearly done. In congressional hearings, tribal elders gave testimony. One woman, her voice quivering, held up a photograph of the roundhouse where her grandfather had been initiated. That structure would be 60 feet underwater once the lake filled. A silence settled over the room, but the project continued. By 1983, the final concrete pour was complete. The Warm Springs Dam stood 319 feet high. When the spill gates opened, it began. The flood didn't roar, it crawled. Water crept across the valley like a patient thief. It climbed trees. It swallowed boulders. It reached the places where children had once played, where acorns had been crushed into meal, where the tribe's dead had slept for centuries. It was not just a lake, it was a drowning. Elders gathered on the ridge and sang. They held bundles of sage, lit tobacco, and watched as the waters buried their history. Some wept, others stood motionless. Let them rest, one whispered. Let them rest again today. Few visitors to Lake Sonoma know what lies beneath. They launch boats, cast lines, and smile in vacation photos. They sip wine nearby, never hearing the stories caught in the mud below, but the tribe remembers. They remember the names, the rituals, the songs that once rang across that valley like bells, and they remember that the bones still lie there. The government offered no compensation, no tribal consultation. The tribe's federal status had only just been restored. The land had long since changed hands. What was lost could not be reclaimed. What was buried could not be dug up again. But the story didn't end at the shoreline in the years that followed. A new kind of remembrance took shape. Tribal members began holding ceremonies near the lake, not to protest but to honor. They built altars of stone and cedar, laid offerings on the ground, spoke names aloud that had not been spoken in generations. And slowly, year after year, something returned, not the land, not the roundhouses, but the spirit, because memory, like water, finds its own path to this day. Some say you can still feel it when the wind moves across the reservoir, a heaviness, a hush, a presence too old to name. They say the ancestors walk just beneath the surface, not angry, but waiting to be remembered, not erased, and the tribe has done just that, through songs, through baskets, through language, through standing once more on their own land, even if that land is smaller, harder, and shaped by loss. But now, with land returned and memory revived, a new chapter rises on the ridge above the lake. Bright lights, machines, and opportunity wrapped. In the gleam of a different kind of gamble, the Dry Creek Pomo are about to step into sovereignty on their own terms. But as always, there is a cost and a question. Can tradition and survival truly walk hand in hand across the floors of a casino? It rose like a beacon on the ridger glittering fortress of glass and neon above the buried valley. Where roundhouses once stood, now stood River Rock Casino, its sign pulsing in red and gold against the California night. For the Dry Creek Rancheria, it was not just a building. It was a battle won, and a wager placed on the future. The casino opened in 2002. After years of legal maneuvering, negotiations, and tribal determination, the federal government had restored the tribe's status 2 decades earlier, but recognition alone wasn't enough. There were no jobs, no tribal infrastructure, no clinics, no economic base. Sovereignty, it turned out, was only real if you had the money to defend it. And so, with cautious hope and fierce debate, the tribe chose a path many native nations had already begun to walk: gaming. River Rock wasn't built in silence. Local residents protested. Environmental groups raised alarms. Politicians wrung their hands over land use and traffic. But behind the noise, the tribe pressed forward. They had watched for too long as wine country thrived off the stolen soil beneath their feet. Now it was their turn to plant something that could grow. The day the doors opened, tribal members stood at the entrance, some in suits, others in regalia. Elders walked the carpet slowly, eyes wide. One whispered, "My mother picked wild onions on this hill." Another pressed a hand to the glass wall, looking down toward the lake. The past and present touched, just for a moment. Inside, the casino gleamed with promise slots ringing, chips clinking, lights flashing like stars gone mad. It was everything the valley had never seen before. For some, it felt like power. For others, like dissonance. The same land where songs once rose in rhythm, with the earth now echoed with jackpot bells. But the impact was immediate. Jobs came first, hundreds, both tribal and non-tribal. Income surged, health services expanded, scholarships were offered, roads were paved, language programs were funded. For the first time in modern memory, the Dry Creek Rancheria was no longer simply surviving, it was building. Still, not everyone was ready to celebrate. Some elders feared the cost, not in dollars but in spirit. They saw sacred hills turned into parking lots. They heard songs drowned out by the hum of generators. They worried about addiction, corruption, and the slow erosion of culture under the weight of profit. Even within the tribe, tensions simmered. Decisions about revenue, distribution, leadership, and land use triggered old divisions. Who truly belonged? Who should decide how the money was spent? What does sovereignty mean when a business becomes your lifeline? Meanwhile, the outside world circled. County officials demanded regulatory control over fire codes and traffic. Lawsuits flew over zoning and land trust boundaries. Local newspapers painted the tribe as either heroes or hustlers, rarely both. But through it all, the casino held it. Became more than a building. It became a symbol. To some, it was defiance. The ultimate reversal. The tribe had once been pushed to the margins, told to vanish, told they were no longer a people. Now they stood talemployers, landholders, sovereign. To others, it was compromise, a necessary bargain, a risk worth taking to secure what had almost been lost. For the younger generation, River Rock was simply part of life, a place where their parents worked, where school supplies came from, where holiday events were held. They grew up knowing that the lights on the hill meant warmth, stability, and presence, but also knowing the story beneath it, the village below the lake, the ancestors whose bones still slept underwater and in quiet corners of the casino. Subtle things kept memory alive, baskets displayed behind glass, language woven into plaques, a mural painted near the entrance showing the valley as it once was, wild, unscarred. Elders walking side by side with young dancers, feathers in their hair, eyes toward the future, because the ridge, for all its wires and winnings, still belongs to the people. River Rock Casino isn't the ending. It's a chapter, a complicated, shining, imperfect step forward, a testament to resilience in a language the world understands. But beneath that glitter, the heartbeat of the land still drums softly. And just as the casino lifted the tribe into a new era of prosperity, it also opened old wounds. Power brings choices. Choices bring consequences. And soon, those consequences would arrive in the form of a single word whispered across council meetings and family dinners. Disenrollment. The fight to be seen had shifted. Now came the fight to belong. It started as a whisper, soft, uncertain, like the first crack in ice. Then came the notices. Folded papers slipped into mailboxes. Letters bearing tribal seals and unreadable legal phrasing. But their meaning was devastatingly clear. You are no longer one of us. In the early 2000s, the Dry Creek Rancheria entered one of the most painful chapters in its modern story. A moment when a tribe, after surviving genocide, erasure, and floods, turned inward and began tearing itself apart, not with weapons, but with paperwork. The issue was enrollment. The question was blood quantum, a system created by the federal government, not the tribes, to define identity by fractions, half, quarter, 1/16, as if culture could be measured like water in a glass, as if belonging had a mathematical limit, originally designed to restrict rights. The formula had now become a knife in the tribe's own hands. With casino profits growing and federal funds tied to population numbers, tribal leadership faced pressure. More members meant more division of resources. Some argued that limiting membership was the only way to preserve sovereignty. Others saw it as betrayal, an echo of colonization in tribal clothing. And so came the disenrollments. Families who had lived on the rancheria for generations were suddenly told they no longer qualified. Blood quantum didn't meet the mark. Paperwork couldn't trace back cleanly. Old documents were missing, birth records questioned, lineages doubted, cousins were cut apart, siblings placed on opposite sides of the line. What began as policy quickly spiraled into pain. For those affected, the blow was total. Losing enrollment didn't just mean losing benefits. It meant losing access to burial grounds, language classes, community events, healthcare, scholarships, and voting rights in tribal decisions. For some, it meant being told they could no longer be buried beside their parents. For others, it meant being denied identity itself. Two sisters, both born on Dry Creek, both raised in the traditions, received different letters. One was affirmed, the other was removed. They had the same mother, the same grandmother, the same basket stories, the same scars. But one name stayed on the roll, and one was erased. They stopped speaking for a year. Across the rancheria, bitterness grew. Council meetings turned heated. Protests were held. Accusations flew of favoritism, of greed, of erasing the inconvenient. Some claimed the move was political, others believed it was personal. But underneath it all was something older and more painful. Fear. Fear that after fighting so hard to survive, the tribe was now unraveling from within. Leaders defended their decisions. They pointed to tribal constitutions, to lineage records, to sovereignty itself. They said it wasn't about exclusion, it was about definition. A tribe has the right to decide who belongs. But that legal truth collided with emotional reality. People who had danced in ceremonies, who had wept at funerals, who had woven baskets and passed down names, were now told, "You are no longer one of us," and yet, through the hurt, some held on. In 2014, faced with lawsuits, national media attention, and rising community division, the tribe issued a moratorium on disenrollment. It was not a resolution, but it was a pause, a breath, an acknowledgement that the path forward could not be paved over the bones of their own people. Even now, the scars linger. Some who were disenrolled have never returned. Others still hope for reinstatement. New generations grow up asking questions. Their grandparents never had to ask, "Am I Indian enough? Do I belong?" These are not questions that can be answered on forms. Because blood may bind, but identity is more than math. It's memory, it's story. It's the firelight where your name is spoken and your face is recognized not for what you can prove, but for what you carry. The Dry Creek Rancheria has survived invasion, extermination orders, floods, and forced forgetting. It has built casinos, language programs, and schools. But its hardest battle may be this one, not to survive the outside world, but to heal the inside one. And healing does not come from policy alone. It comes from sitting together again, from sharing meals, from truly listening to the pain of the past without rushing to fix it. It comes from choosing inclusion, not because it is easy, but because it is necessary now. As the sun rises once more over the lake that swallowed their past, the tribe stands on the edge of something new. A generation is rising curious, determined, and unwilling to carry old wounds unexamined. They ask not just who are we, but who do we want to become? The answer begins, perhaps, in the quiet, in remembering what was lost, and in daring to imagine what still might be restored. Because beyond blood and beyond lines, one truth remains. We are still here, and far from the tribal office. Down a path of brush and wind, a roundhouse stands glowing under the stars. Inside, the fire crackles again, and with it, a promise is Reborn, the moon hangs low over Dry Creek, heavy and golden, casting long silver shadows across the ridges. It is quiet, here quiet, in the way only land that remembers can be. The vineyards sleep. The casino hums in the distance, but on a hilltop above the lake that swallowed the past, something ancient flickers to life again. A fire, small but steady, burning inside a roundhouse built not just from timber, but from memory. This is not a return to what was. That time is gone, and the people know it. The villagers will not rise again from the depths of Lake Sonoma. The acorn groves that once fed entire clans are now vineyards sold by the bottle. But what can rise what is rising is something just as sacred. A new generation ready to carry the old stories forward. Inside the roundhouse, children sit cross-legged, listening to an elder speak in Pomo. Her voice trembles at first, rusty, from decades of silence, but soon it steadies. Each syllable is a stone laid down on a bridge. These are not just words, they are the sounds of survival. Some of the children laugh as they try to repeat the phrases, unfamiliar and slippery on their tongues. But they try, and trying is how rebirth begins. Across the rancheria, classrooms buzz with a new kind of learning. Language classes, story, circles, basket weaving workshops led by grandmothers who once wove in secret. Tribal youth carry clipboards into the hills, mapping old trails, recording bird calls, identifying plants by their Pomo names. It is science braided with soul. Culture made kinetic again. Along Dry Creek itself, the water flows differently now, not because the dam has changed, but because the people have. Salmon once thought extinct in this stretch now return, their silver backs flashing in the current. Tribal environmental crews, many still in their 20s, restore the habitat inch by inch. They replant native sedge, remove invasive weeds. They work with care, as if repairing a broken drum, knowing the land is not just watching, but listening. In town halls and government buildings, the Dry Creek Rancheria now speaks with authority. Sovereignty is no longer just a word printed. On grant applications is lived, asserted, defended, from housing to healthcare to cultural programming. The tribe now plans its future, not waits for one to be given. And while the scars of disenrollment have not vanished, conversations about healing are growing louder. New leaders speak of inclusion, of complexity, of finding a path where history is honored without being held hostage by it. This is the new door, not perfect, not painless, but real. A young man in tribal regalia dances under the valley moon. His steps follow a rhythm taught to him by his grandfather. Each movement recalls a time before colonization, but it is not imitation, it is continuation. Nearby, a girl records the dance on her phone, her other hand clutching a notebook of translations. She is both archivist and inheritor. She is not asking permission to exist. Around them, elders clap, not just for the dancers, but for the moment itself unthinkable a generation ago, to gather openly, to sing in Pomo without fear, to see the future standing on 2 feet and spinning beneath the stars. The lake still glistens in the distance, serene and unforgiving. The bones beneath its surface remain undisturbed, but the silence that once hovered over the reservoir has changed. It is no longer an absence, it is a vigil, a presence held by those above. At the edge of the roundhouse clearing, a woman kneels beside a young cedar sapling. She ties a red cloth around its base, a prayer, a promise, a root for those yet to come. Her hands are weathered, but her eyes shine. She has lived through extermination orders, relocation, termination, and the bitter years of being told she did not count. And still she plants. The Dry Creek Rancheria band of Pomo Indians is not what it once was. It is something new, shaped by survival, lit by memory, and built by hands that refuse to let go. They will never recover all that was taken, but they have reclaimed something just as powerful, the right to define themselves as the fire burns low and the moon begins to sink behind the ridge. A voice young and clear calls out in Pomo, "We are still here," and with that the story doesn't end, it breathes. It continues, carried in footsteps, spoken in dreams, and written into the land itself. The dawn has come, and this time the light belongs to them. Chapter 1: Guardians of the Everglades. The sun dips low over the vast stretch of the Everglades, casting a warm, golden light that dances on the surface of the water. In this lush wilderness, life bursts forth in every direction, telling stories of resilience and harmony. Here, where the earth breathes and waters swirl, lives the Miccosukee tribe of people entwined with the very essence of this land. For centuries, the Miccosukee have called these wetlands home, nurturing an intimate bond with nature that goes beyond survival. They are the guardians of the Everglades, protectors of an ecosystem that has withstood the test of time, adapting and flourishing amid challenges. Their voices echo through the cypress trees, intertwining ancient tales and modern aspirations. As the last rays of sun dip below the horizon, the Miccosukee gather, sharing laughter and stories around flickering flames. This is more than a ritual. It's a reminder of their connection to ancestors, each story a thread that weaves through generations. It's a time for reflection, where the weight of history and the hope of the future coexist in sacred unity. The flicker of firelight illuminates faces lined with experience, revealing the beauty of their culture that embodies resilience, strength, and an unwavering respect for the land. At the heart of Miccosukee, life is their language, a living expression of identity that carries the essence of their history. While many indigenous languages have faded into silence, the Miccosukee language echoes through homes, schools, and everyday conversations. It is a vessel for knowledge, imparting lessons of coexistence, sustainability, and the fragile relationship humans share with the environment. The heart of their identity is also reflected in their art-vibrant patterns and intricate designs that tell stories of the land and the people. Each item, whether a hand-stitched garment or a carved piece of art, embodies the spirit of the Everglades, capturing the beauty, struggle, and hope of a tribe dedicated to preserving its heritage. These creations are not mere products. They are lifelines to the past, rich with meaning and deep connection. But the challenges faced by the Miccosukee go beyond the shadows of history. Encroachment on their land and threats to the delicate ecosystem present a constant struggle. Yet, amidst these challenges, they rise resilient. Their voices and resolve have grown stronger, echoing through the creeks and marshes, demanding recognition, respect, and the protection of their land, their ancestral home. As night falls, the stars flicker into existence, mirroring the tribe's enduring spirit. Under this celestial tapestry, they reaffirm their commitment as stewards of the Everglades. With deep breaths, they embrace the calling of the land, each inhaled promise fortifying their purpose. The Everglades do not just belong to them, they are an intrinsic part of their identity. In moments of silence, the whispers of the past guide them, while hopeful visions of the future propel them forward. United as one, they navigate the thin line between preserving tradition and embracing the winds of change. Their journey is one of courage, love, and an unbreakable bond with the land. As dawn approaches, reflecting the subtle hues of a new day, the spirit of the Miccosukee rises with the sun. Their story is not just one of survival. It is a testament to the strength of human connection to nature and the relentless pursuit of harmony amid chaos. The Everglades continue to breathe, and so do they together, intertwined. And as the sun's first rays illuminate this rich land, alongside the Miccosukee, we prepare to embark on the next chapter of understanding, exploration, and respect for a culture that stands the test of time as we venture into the world of the Seminole, a neighboring tribe with their own storied legacy. Chapter 2. The Heartbeat of the Chippewa, the northern reaches of the American heartland, where the whispering winds weave through towering pines and the sun spills golden rays over shimmering lakes, lies a rich tapestry woven by the Chippewa tribe. Known for their resilience and deep connection to the natural world, the Chippewa embody a spirit that reverberates through the land, echoing their ancestral wisdom and cultural heritage. From the very beginnings, the Chippewa lived in harmony with the earth, guided by the cycles of nature. The land was not simply a backdrop. It was a living, breathing entity that sustained and nurtured them. Each season painted a new canvas, where spring ushered in the first blooms, summer brought the ripening of wild rice, autumn showcased a kaleidoscope of colors, and winter blanketed the ground in serene silence. The Chippewa embraced these rhythms, understanding that they were but threads in the larger fabric of life. As the days turned into seasons, stories flowed through their veins, like the rivers that coursed beneath the boughs of their sacred trees. The elders, revered keepers of knowledge, recounted tales of creation, of how the Great Spirit breathed life into the world, carving mountains and filling lakes with the laughter of the waters. These narratives were not mere stories. They were lessons woven with the wisdom of generations, teaching respect, gratitude, and the strength found within community. With each gathering around the fire, the Chippewa passed on their traditions, songs entwined with the flicker of the flames. The rhythm of the drums echoed in the hearts of the listeners, evoking a profound sense of belonging. They danced not just out of celebration, but as a powerful invocation, an offering to the spirits that watched over them, a reminder of the ties that bound them to their ancestors. Every beat resonated with the heartbeat of the earth, a heartbeat that continues to pulsate, reminding the Chippewa of their purpose, their identity. Yet, as the modern world encroached upon their ancestral lands, the Chippewa faced unprecedented challenges. The arrival of settlers brought a clash of cultures, leading to struggles that threatened their way of life. Land was taken, resources depleted, and the voice of their people was often drowned in silence. But in the heart of adversity, the Chippewa found strength. They became warriors, not just for survival, but for preservation, ensuring that their culture would endure for generations to come. Art became a powerful tool for expression, a way to reclaim their identity. Intricate beadwork and vibrant textiles told stories of history and resilience. The imagery crafted on canvas reflected their relationship with nature and affirmation of life. Chaos and tranquility intertwined. Through their art, the Chippewa continued to share their narrative, urging the world to see beyond stereotypes, to witness the depth of their journey. In today's modern age, the Chippewa stand as stewards of both tradition and innovation. They blend the wisdom of their ancestors with contemporary life, nurturing a vibrant community that honors its past while forging a new path forward. They invite you to listen, to understand, and to connect deeply with the land that nourishes them. As this chapter draws to a close, the heartbeat of the Chippewa remains alive, echoing through the stories of their ancestors, a reminder that they are not merely surviving but thriving. And as we turn the page to the next chapter, we delve deeper into the vibrant tapestry of their cultural celebrations, where every dance and song weaves the past into the present, illuminating the path ahead. Chapter 3. In the heart of the Florida Everglades lies the Miccosukee tribe, a resilient group known for their fierce independence and a rich tapestry of spiritual beliefs. Did you know that the Miccosukee once resisted the US government's attempts at removal, sparking a conflict that would change their fate forever? Today, their vibrant culture stands as a powerful testament to survival, with the Everglades serving not just as their home, but as a symbol of their fight for identity and sovereignty. In the heart of the Everglades, an endless sea of green whispers secrets of resilience and determination. Here resides the Miccosukee tribe, a people whose spirit embodies independence and strength. Amidst the teeming life of sawgrass and the gentle lull of cypress trees, their vibrant culture flourishes, a testament to survival etched into the very fabric of this landscape. The Miccosukee have long drawn strength from their connection to the land, a bond forged over centuries. They are guardians of a vast ecosystem, one that not only sustains them but defines them. Yet their journey has not been without struggle. Once they faced the looming shadow of removal, a desperate attempt by the US government to displace them from their ancestral home. In a battle that spanned years, they stood resolutely in defiance, driven by an unwavering resolve to protect their identity and sovereignty. As the winds rustled through the palm fronds, echoes of their ancestors can still be felt, whispering tales of resistance and unity. The Miccosukee fought not just for their territory, but for the right to exist on their own terms, crafting a legacy of courage that weaves through the very essence of the Everglades. Their struggle was not merely against forces of oppression. It was a fight rooted in love for their land, their people, and their way of life. Today, this fierce spirit manifests in the art, rituals, and stories that vibrantly color their daily lives. Traditional dances, filled with heartfelt emotion and rhythmic beats, celebrate their history and keep their ancestors alive in memory. Crafts made from the bounty of the Everglades tell stories of survival, connection, and respect for nature. Every bead woven into a piece of jewelry, every design painted on a canvas, speaks to a heritage that refuses to fade away. Yet, the fight for recognition and respect continues, as outsiders encroach upon the land, threatening the delicate balance of this unique ecosystem. The Miccosukee stand vigilant, advocates of both their culture and the environment they cherish. Their voices echo across the swamps, calling for preservation not just of the land, but of the spirit that has defined them for generations. As we delve deeper into the living tapestry of their lives, we unveil a community deeply rooted in spirituality, a rich belief system that honors the spirits of the land and the interconnectedness of all living things. It is a worldview shaped not only by the struggles they faced, but also by the harmony they seek within nature. Join us next as we explore the profound spiritual practices that bind the Miccosukee, revealing how their connection to the Everglades nurtures not just their bodies, but their souls. As we journey into the sacred heart of their beliefs, we discover the essence of a culture that thrives against all odds, painting a portrait of hope and resilience amidst changing tides. Chapter 4. Voices of the Ancestral Land in the Heart of America. Where the mountains meet the sky, lies a sacred land once thrumming with the vibrant pulse of the Native American tribe known as the Lakota. This is not just a story of survival. It is a journey of resilience, a testament to the spirit of a people who have faced insurmountable odds, yet continue to flourish in the whispers of the wind and the echoes of their ancestors. Picture the vast plains, golden grasses swaying like a sea under the sun. Here, ancestral traditions run deep, rooted in a profound connection to the earth. The Lakota people, with their intricate beadwork, vibrant ceremonies, and powerful songs, celebrate life in a way that transcends mere existence. Each gathering, every dance reflects a narrative centuries-old tales of courage, love, and loss that bind them closer to the land they cherish. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the horizon, the Lakota gather. They share stories around a crackling fire, every voice adding to the tapestry of their heritage. To them, these stories are not just recollections of the past. They are living entities that guide their future. Each tale is woven with a thread of hope, reminding the younger generations of their identity, their purpose, and the enduring spirit of their ancestors who walked before them. Yet, the Lakota's journey has not been without strife. Waves of colonization washed over their homes, bringing challenges that sought to erase their rich culture. In this storm, however, they found strength. The Lakota resisted, clinging fiercely to their beliefs, prayers, and customs. It was within this struggle that they forged an even deeper relationship with the land. Each mound of earth, each river, recognized their pain but also celebrated their unyielding spirit. Through the lens of history, we see the heart of the Lakota tribe, a beat that mirrors the rhythm of buffalo hooves, tracing their paths across the plains. From the days of the Treaty of Fort Laramie to the contemporary fight for rights and recognition, their saga is one of unbreakable bonds to one another and to their sacred land. Today, the Lakota embrace both tradition and innovation. Young voices rise in their quest for empowerment, connecting ancestral knowledge with modern tools. They weave technology into age-old practices, creating a bridge across generations. In this synergy, they remind us that culture is not static, but a living organism that evolves while holding dear its roots as the night grows. The stars begin to twinkle, necklaces of diamonds draping the vast expanse of the sky. For the Lakota, each star is a guide, illuminating the path to understanding their place in the universe. The stories shared tonight will ripple through time, creating a Kriatsa symphony that will echo long after the fire fades. As the embers glow softly, casting shadows of the past against the present, we find ourselves at a crossroad, a bridge to the next chapter. The Lakota's journey of resilience intertwines with the younger generation's quest for justice and visibility. How do cultures rise, adapt, and thrive amidst the storms of history? The answer lies in their continued fight for their rights, their voice echoing through the annals of time, carrying forth the sacred wisdom of those who came before. Join us as we delve deeper into this fight, witnessing the unwavering spirit of the Lakota people who stand at the forefront of a movement one that seeks not only to reclaim land but to restore the dignity of their heritage and the hope for future generations. Chapter 5: Roots beneath the mangroves, the heart of the tropics. Where emerald leaves brush against the deep azure sky, lies a world untouched by Tima, world rooted beneath the mangroves. This lush labyrinth serves as the silent witness to the rich history of the Garifuna people, a unique Native American tribe whose roots intertwined seamlessly with the land and its sacred waters. Imagine the sun dipping low, casting a warm glow upon the water's surface, illuminating the intricate web of mangrove roots that dance below. These roots, strong and resilient, are more than just anchors. They are a lifeline, feeding the ecosystem that supports not only the diverse wildlife but also the vibrant culture of the Garifuna. For centuries, the tribe has woven their existence into the very fabric of these coastal landscapes, cultivating a deep connection with nature that transcends time. The Garifuna people are the descendants of the Arawak and Carib tribes, enriched by the legacy of shipwrecked Africans who found refuge, passion, and a new life within these shores. Their amalgamation forged a culture as rich as the earth from which it springs. The music that erupts from their gatherings speaks to their complex past, a symphony of rhythms that echo memories of triumph and struggle. When the drums beat a traditional tune, you can feel the ancestors rise, accompanying the living in a dance of reverence and celebration. Central to the Garifuna identity is the lore handed down through generations, tales of resilience woven into the very soil. These stories teach respect for the land, an understanding that every creature has a role to play in the divine tapestry of life. The mangroves are not merely trees, they are guardians of the coast, protectors of the sanctity that the tribe cherishes. For the Garifuna to dwell in such beauty is both a privilege and a responsibility, a stewardship that demands respect, knowledge, and love. As the sun rises, the village awakens. The morning fog lifts softly, revealing boats bobbing on the tide, each one crafted with care and reverence. Fishing is not just survival for the Garifuna. It is an art form passed down through generations. With every cast of the net, a connection is reaffirmed not just to the bounty of the sea, but to the lessons of patience, perseverance, and gratitude. It is a sacred act. Each fish caught a reminder of the harmony that sustains their lives. Life beneath the mangroves is intimate. The rhythms of nature flow seamlessly with those of the Garifuna. Children play in the shallows, laughter bubbling up like the very waves around them. Elders share stories woven with wisdom under the shade of the mangrove canopy, roots intertwining beneath their feet, symbolizing the unity of past and present. This deep bond with their surroundings nurtures their identity, one rooted deeply in community, tradition, and kinship. Yet, this paradise is not without struggle. The Garifuna have faced the looming shadows of colonization, displacement, and climate change. As sea levels rise and storms become fiercer, the mangroves stand strong, but the tribe's survival hangs delicately in the balance. For them, the fight is not just for land. It is a struggle to preserve a culture that thrives in harmony with nature. Each protest, each song sung in solidarity, carries the weight of their ancestors, pushing against the tides of erasure that threaten their existence. They understand that resilience goes hand in hand with adaptability. Amidst the challenges, the Garifuna have embraced modernity while preserving their traditions. They share their stories and culture through art and music, weaving a narrative that resonates beyond their shores, beckoning the world to witness life beneath the mangroves. Social media platforms become new spaces for folklore, carrying their vibrant voices to distant shores, connecting hearts and minds in understanding and appreciation. As the sun sets, painting the horizon in hues of orange and purple, one can sense the heartbeat of the Garifuna. Together, they gather along the shore, celebrating the end of a day with feasts filled with local delicacies and songs reverberating through the night. A testament to their enduring spirit. Laughter mingles with the sound of waves, an unbroken bond echoing through time. It is in this sacred space, surrounded by their cherished mangroves, that the essence of the Garifuna thrives. They remind us that to know our roots is to embrace our journey wherever it may lead us. As darkness envelops the land, one can't help but feel the anticipation of hope that shines like the stars above, eternal and unwavering. For the Garifuna, the story is far from over. It continues to evolve, rooted deep beneath the mangroves. In the next chapter, we embark on a voyage through the vibrant melodies that pulse at the heart of Garifuna culture, unveiling the symbiotic relationship between music, identity, and resistance, reminding us that every note played carries the weight of history and the promise of tomorrow. Chapter 6: Spirits of the Everglades. The heart of the Everglades, where the waters weave a delicate tapestry of life. The Miccosukee tribe draws its strength from the ancestors who walk beside them through dreams and visions. Their origin. Stories are not merely tales of the past, but living narratives that breathe among the cypress and echo through the whispering palms. To the Miccosukee, these stories are sacred threads connecting generations, guiding them through the intricate dance of existence. As the sun dips beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, a profound stillness envelops the land. The whispers of the ancestors float on the evening breeze. Each rustle of the leaves holds a story. Each ripple in the water carries a lesson. Here, spirituality is a vivid tapestry, woven from the fabric of nature itself. The rivers surge with life, cradling the spirits of those who have passed, and offering wisdom to the living dot in this rich expanse of wetlands. The Miccosukee discover themselves. The tall grasses sway, revealing how deeply their culture is entwined with this vibrant landscape. The sweet smell of wet earth mingles with the aroma of wild herbs, grounding them in a world where every plant, every creature resonates with importance. The Everglades are not just a home. They are a living embodiment of the Miccosukee spirit, reflecting their trials, triumphs, and tenacity. Dreams emerge as windows to the wisdom of the past, bringing messages from the ancestors. Each dream is a spiritual voyage, a gentle urging to remember who they are and where they come from. As the night blankets the Everglades, the sounds of nature become a calming lullaby, inviting the hearts and minds of the tribe to explore the depths of their being. Individuals commune with the spirits, beckoned by visions that illuminate paths for the future. Moments of clarity arise during these sacred encounters. A young child may see the face of a long-lost relative, while an elder may receive guidance in how to care for the land that sustained their people for centuries. Each vision carries weight, embodying the eternal connection between generations. The past stretches out to hold the present, urging a deeper understanding of their identity. Nature stands as a mirror, reflecting the Miccosukee spirit. The rhythm of life pulses through every beat of the Everglades. With each sunrise comes a promise to honor those who came before and to forge stories that will guide the youth towards tomorrow. Here, they realize that life is a continuum, where the ancestors dance in the sunlight and whisper in the shadows as the chapter of the ancestors unfolds. The Miccosukee are reminded of the lessons that rise like morning mist: respect, resilience, and the boundless strength found in their connections to one another and the land. Each step they take resonates with the heartbeat of the Everglades, an affirmation of their identity amid the wild beauty of nature. But as the night sky looms overhead, the path ahead is carved in the stars. It beckons them to journey deeper into their narrative, where the echoes of dreams lead to the power of community. and the rich rhythms of celebration and unity await. The story continues, and the Everglades will guide them forward. Chapter 7. The Everglades. Cradle in the heart of Florida lies a vast, untamed wilderness, intricate tapestry known as the Everglades. This lush expanse, with its winding waterways and swaying grasses, serves as a cradle for life, but for the Native American tribes who once roamed these lands, it was much more than that. It was home. A living entity woven into their very existence. The Seminole people, a resilient tribe, have called the Everglades their sanctuary for centuries. As mist rises from the waters at dawn, it carries the whispers of their ancestors' stories of survival, adaptation, and a deep connection to the land. Each day, as the sun glimmers off the water, the past and present intertwine. A beautiful reminder of the strength rooted in their culture. As we journey deeper into this wild haven, we encounter vibrant ecosystems teeming with diverse forms of life. The Everglades are not merely a backdrop. They are a vital part of the Seminole identity. The graceful curves of the sawgrass, the gentle hum of the alligators, and the vibrant colors of the flora reflect the harmony that exists between nature and the tribe. This place is Secreta, nurturing womb that has cradled them through storms both literal and metaphorical. In the early days of their history, the Seminoles found solace in these lands. When faced with conflict and adversity, they learned to read the rhythms of the Everglades, letting it guide them. The intermittent rainfall dictated their way of life, each drop fostering the very roots that sustained them. Through fishing, hunting, and gathering, they forged a relationship with nature that was grounded in respect and reciprocity. Every catch, every harvest held a sacred significance, a testament to their gratitude for the bounties bestowed upon them. Yet, the Everglades are not just a vast playground. They also stand as a battlegrounder, symbol of resilience against the waves, of change that surged across the continent. As settlers encroached upon this paradise, the Seminole people were forced to defend their way of life, a struggle fueled by the very essence of their being. Every skirmish fought was not against outsiders merely. It was a fight for the identity, the land, and the souls of their ancestors. To understand the anger and sorrow that enveloped those early years, one must journey back. The echoes of the past resonate in the very soil, in the waterways, and in the hearts of the people. In those moments of darkness, the Everglades stood as both refuge and prison. Through the thick foliage, families found temporary safety, their spirits unyielding against the storms of oppression. The sounds of the wilderness sand orchestra of rustling leaves, croaking frogs, and distant howls became a lullaby to the weary dot in the face of such turmoil. The Seminoles remained steadfast in cultivating their traditions. Their art reflected not just their environment, but also their spirits. Intricate beadwork and weaving became storytelling mediums, each piece bearing witness to both joy and sorrow. Each colorful pattern spoke of triumph over adversity, a triumph that continues. Today, communities gathered around fires, sharing tales steeped in history while the stars twinkled bright overhead, an everlasting reminder of hope. And yet, in the midst of this rich tapestry, there remains a poignant struggle for recognition, for rights, and for the very land that is their lifeblood. The Everglades are both a reminder of deep ancestral roots and a call to arms in modern times. In a world increasingly disconnected from nature, the Seminole tribe serves as a powerful beacon, urging us to remember the simple joys of stewardship that once unified humanity. As daylight fades and the moon rises over the vast Everglades, the whispers of the past echo louder. The Seminoles have faced their challenges with dignity and pride, not just to protect their homes, but to preserve their culture against forgetting. With each sunset, they gather holding the stories of their ancestors, passing on knowledge to the next generation. These ecological landscapes, where earth, water, and sky converge, reflect a timeless dancer celebration of resilience, adaptability, and hope. However, as the world outside continues to change, what does the future hold for the Seminole? What lessons can we learn from their enduring connection to the wild? The answers lie in the very essence of the Everglades, waiting to reveal themselves. As the dawn breaks over this cradle, illuminating the path ahead, the story of the Seminole continues to unfold. In our next chapter, we will explore the intricate dance between tradition and modernity, examining how this proud tribe navigates the challenges of a rapidly changing world while holding steadfast to the heritage that binds them together. As dawn breaks over the lush expanse of the Everglades, a symphony of life awakens. Here, amid the intricate tapestry of wetlands, lives the Miccosukee tribe, a people whose daily rhythm resonates with the pulse of nature. Their traditional homes, known as chickees, rise like sentinels over the land, built to withstand the elements while embracing the spirit of the surrounding environment. Crafted from cypress wood and thatched with palm fronds, these structures breathe with the weather, echoing the wisdom of generations past. Inside, the simplicity of the chickee invites a profound sense of peace, a sanctuary stripped of excess, yet rich in culture. Here, families gather, sharing stories and laughter, bound by the threads of tradition that connect them to their ancestors. Stepping outside, the Miccosukee people engage intimately with their land. The landscape is a living buffet, offering a feast for those who know how to listen and observe. With handcrafted tools, the tribe gathers wild rice, a staple that has fed them for centuries. Each grain harvested is a small victory, a testament to their respect for the ecosystem. They move gracefully through the sawgrass, their feet lightly brushing the earth, as they bend to collect the bounty that the land provides. In the shimmering waters, the Miccosukee fish, their movements fluid and focused. Each catch speaks to a deep understanding forged through years of living in harmony with the Everglades. From the river's depths, they pull speckled perch and vibrant mullet, mammoth gifts that nourish their bodies and souls. With each meal prepared, there is a sacred act of gratitude, an acknowledgement of what the land has given, a promise to preserve it for future generations. But it is not solely the resources that sustain the Miccosukee. It is the relationship they cultivate with each whispering breeze, each rustling leaf. They see the land not as a commodity, but as a living entity, a partner in a dance as old as time. Lessons emerge in silence about patience, survival, and respect, echoing through their daily rituals and steeped in reverence as dusk approaches. The chickees glow against the indigo sky, pulsing with stories of the day. Here, the Miccosukee gather around their flickering fires, sharing laughter and tales spun with respect for their past, hope for the future, and love for the land that cradles them. It is a moment of connection, weaving together the fabric of community, a tapestry rich with shared experiences. The lifestyle of the Miccosukee people may seem simple, yet its depth reveals a profound wisdom, the way life can be both unadorned and rich with meaning. As they lay their heads down, surrounded by the living beauty of the Everglades, we feel the heartbeat of a culture that thrives not just in survival but in celebration of existence. As night drapes its velvet curtain over the land, we turn our gaze toward the horizon, where the stories of the Miccosukee are interwoven with the passage of time, leading us into the threads of their vibrant traditions and evolving identity in the face of modern challenges. Join us as we delve deeper into these currents, exploring the enduring spirit of a people who hold their heritage close, navigating the complexities of the world while remaining forever anchored to the whispers of the Everglades. Chapter 9. Love in the Swamp. In the heart of the Louisiana Bayou, enveloped in a soft embrace of mist, lies a world that sways with the rhythm of ancient stories. This land, rich in heritage and spirit, cradles the deep-rooted culture of the Tunica Biloxi tribe. Love in the Swamp unfolds here, where emotions bloom as vividly as the vibrant cypress trees, their roots diving deep into muddy waters, much like the bonds that intertwine the lives of those who call this place home. As dawn breaks, the sun peeks through layers of clouds, casting a golden hue over the swamp. This is more than just a landscape. It is a living canvas painted with the laughter of children and the whispers of ancestors. Families gather, their hearts open like the wild magnolias that blossom on the banks. In this world, love flows freely, not just between partners, but through generations, binding the community together against the external storms that sometimes threaten their existence. In the heart of the village, we find Mara and Eli, two young souls, whose journey symbolizes the essence of love woven into the very fabric of their culture. Their paths first crossed along the edges of the bayou, where the silver waters reflect dreams unspoken. It was a hot summer afternoon, the air thick with possibilities, and as they watched the fireflies dance around them, their hearts began to speak a language all their own. Mara, with her laughter like music, and Eli, whose gentle spirit was apparent in his every gesture, found solace in the shared tales of their ancestors. In these moments, they discovered a powerful truth. Love was not just a fleeting emotion, it was a bond, a commitment to uphold the values of their people while embracing the beauty of their unique connection. Love, as they learned, thrived best in the soft shadows of the swamp, where vulnerability was a strength and trust was an unbreakable tie. But life in the bayou is not without its challenges. Many of the tribe's ways have been threatened over the years by the rapid encroachment of modernity. As Mara and Eli navigated their budding romance, they felt a mounting pressure to preserve their heritage, a call to honor the very swim of the swamp that fostered their love. Tales of the past, intricately stitched into the deep roots of their beings, reminded them that they were custodians of something sacred in the evenings. The village gathers around a crackling fire. Elders, wise and weathered like the ancient trees, recount the legends of their ancestors. They speak of the great floods that shaped their land, of the resilience that runs in their veins, and how love has always been a guiding star through hardship. The flickering flames illuminate young faces, inciting dreams of bravery and devotion. As Mara and Eli listen, they can hardly contain the stories thrumming in their hearts, their own love story intertwining with the legacy of their people. Yet, the weight of the world often looms large. With deep-rooted traditions on one side and the modern world's incessant call on the other, the tension is palpable. But for Mara and Eli, the swamp serves as their sanctuary. Here, they venture into the tranquil embrace of the water, where they can speak freely, share dreams, and even voice the fears that threaten to fracture the foundations of their love. As they glide their canoe through the misty waters, they find peace. riding the gentle waves and sinking deeper into one another. A testament to what it means to nurture love amid uncertainty. The journey is rich with metaphor, the winding waterways mirroring the ebb and flow of their emotions. On nights when the stars blanket the sky, Mara and Eli contemplate the future. What does it mean to love within a culture that is fragile yet fierce? How do they honor ancestors while forging a new path? The questions hang like the dew on the cypress leaves, delicate yet laced with resolve. As the seasons shift, so too does the nature of love in the swamp. The vibrant hues of summer fade to the russet tones of fall, marking not an end, but a metamorphosis. The couple realizes that just like the ever-changing landscape, love requires nurturing, understanding, and time to grow. It is not merely about the passion that ignites their hearts. It's about building a shared life, creating a home where the sounds of the swamp echo with laughter and comfort. They dream of a future where their children can run through the bayou, just as they once did, inheriting the love that has been passed down like sacred seeds in this world of cypress knees and moonlit nights. Mara and Eli's story is just one of many threads woven into the rich tapestry of the Tunica Biloxi tribe. Their journey embodies the heart of a community that draws strength from the love that flourishes in the swamp. A reminder that the truest bonds are forged in the most unexpected places, as we leave behind the love stories rooted in the murky depths of the bayou. We begin to explore how the tribe navigates the currents of change and strives to uphold their culture in a modern world. Join us as we delve deeper into the lives of the Tunica Biloxi tribe, where tradition and innovation dance together, just as the waters of the bayou ebb and flow. In the heart of the Everglades, where the rhythm of life pulses like the waters through the cypress swamps, the Mikaski tribe weaves a tapestry of love and commitment that speaks to the essence of human connection. Here, amidst the whispers of ancient trees and the soft murmur of the wind, courtship takes on a form that is both reverent and vibrant, deeply rooted in tradition, yet ever open to the winds of change. As young Miccosukee women and men come of age, they participate in rituals that reveal not only their intentions, but also their respect for their heritage and families. These courtship practices often unfold during seasonal gatherings, where laughter and music intertwine, painting a scene of exuberance under the wide Floridian sky. The heartbeat of this community amplifies when young lovers exchange glances across the dance floor, their eyes speaking volumes of what words may not say. One notable tradition involves offerings of handmade crafts, intricate beadwork, or finely woven baskets signify appreciation and intent. These pieces are more than gifts. They are tokens, each stitch a connection between two hearts and their families. The act of gifting becomes a declaration, a promise that love is not merely a fleeting emotion, but a binding contract that nourishes. The spirit of the tribe. Family holds an esteemed place within Miccosukee culture, embodying strength and support. The roles within the family are defined by mutual respect and understanding. Elders are revered for their wisdom, and their voices echo through generations, shaping the values passed down like a sacred flame. Marriages are viewed as alliances, where two families merge, creating broader ties of support and cooperation. In the eyes of the Miccosukee partnership is a dansan, intricate movement of give and take. Men often take on roles as providers and protectors, while women are the heart and hearth, radiating, nurturing warmth, and fostering connections that bind the family unit together. The balance of these roles emphasizes a shared journey, where love and responsibility intertwine like the roots of a mangrove tree, anchoring each other in the muddy waters of life. Yet the world surrounding the Miccosukee is not without its challenges. As the Everglades face ecological threats and modern encroachments, maintaining cultural customs becomes vital. During moments of difficulty, tribe members rally together, embodying the very essence of family and community. They draw from the teachings of their ancestors, using storytelling as a way to nurture young hearts and strengthen the bonds that define their existence. As love flourishes within this resilient framework, it is both a source of joy and a testament to survival. Marriage is celebrated not as an isolated event, but as a communal affair, where kin and friends converge to bless the union and revel in the promise of unity. The exchange of vows becomes a symphony of commitment, underscoring the belief that love, much like the wetlands that cradle their homes, is both fragile and profoundly beautiful. As we look deeper into the Miccosukee's courtship rituals and family roles, we discover that the strength of their love offers a guide for navigating life's uncertainties. With every shared laugh and whispered promise, these timeless customs cast a light amidst the shadows of life in the Everglades. In the next chapter, we will journey into the heart of tribal gatherings, where storytelling reigns supreme and the legacy of the Miccosukee is passed down through the colorful threads of song and dance. Here, we will uncover how these vibrant celebrations not only honor the past, but also breathe life into their present and future. Rituals and the sacred in the heart of the American landscape, draped in the whispers of pine and the warmth of sunlight, lies a world pulsating with ancient traditions, the realm of the Native American tribes. Each tribe, a vibrant tapestry of stories, weaves rituals that echo through the ages, expressing a profound connection to the sacredness of life. Here, rituals are not mere ceremonies. They are the very heartbeat of existence, promise, made to the ancestors and the spirits that dwell beneath the earth and hover above the skies. As dawn breaks over a sprawling valley, the sun paints everything in golden hues. The rhythmic sound of drumming begins to pulse through the air, matching the heartbeat of those gathered in a circle. Men and women adorned in intricate regalia step forward, embodying the voices of their ancestors. They are not just performers. They are custodians of a living culture, channeling the wisdom of generations that came before them. At the center, a sacred fire crackles, sending tendrils of smoke into the heavens. This is no ordinary flame. It is a vessel, a bridge that connects the physical realm to the spiritual. In Native American traditions, fire is revered as a life-giving element, offering warmth, light, and guidance. Here stories are told, prayers are sent, and offerings are made, each act a thread in the vast web of existence. The sacredness of this moment lingers, filling the air with anticipation and profound silence as participants dance their feet, create a rhythm that mirrors the heartbeat of Mother Earth. Their movements are stories in motion, each step a prayer, each swirl a testament to life's cyclical nature. They dance, not just for joy or celebration, but to honor the spirits, to share in the wisdom they have inherited. Each gesture is steeped in meaning, a reflection of the interconnectedness of all living beings. In the shadows of towering mountains, the ceremonies often become more intimate, often shared only among tribe members, creating sacred spaces away from the modern world. Here, ritual becomes a practice of personal reflection, of reawakening a deeper understanding of existence. Invitations are extended quietly, with reverence hanging like mist in the air, for these moments are not casual. They are profound explorations into the essence of life itself. One of the most celebrated rituals is the vision quest, practiced by many tribes as a rite of passage. In this sacred journey, the initiate retreats into the wilderness, seeking solitude. Stripped of worldly distractions, they confront their own spirit in a sacred dialogue. Hunger and thirst accompany them as they grapple with the forces of nature, finding both solace and struggle in the wilderness. Under the gaze of stars, they follow the ancient practice of fasting and praying, waiting for visions to reveal their purpose. Imagine for a moment the stillness of night, where every rustle holds a tale waiting to be heard. The initiate opens themselves to the unseen world, a dance of vulnerability and bravery that transcends ordinary life. Many return with powerful vision symbols that unlock their path forward, often translating personal insights into wisdom to share with their community. This journey not only shapes the individual, but also strengthens the tribe, renewing bonds and deepening connections. Rituals also serve as crucial moments to connect with the land, fostering a reverence for the earth's gifts. The planting and harvesting seasons are filled with ceremonies, where gratitude flows like a stream. Corn, beans, and squash known as the three sisters become sacred elements, their growth celebrated with songs and blessings. These acts are not simply about sustenance. They represent a deep, spiritual dialogue between the tribes and the land. As the harvest moon rises, colorful festivals burst forth, alive with joyous laughter, music, and feasting. They celebrate not only the fruits of labor, but the bond with the earth that sustains life. Circle gatherings remind everyone that they are part of a larger story, and no one is ever truly alone. Yet, amidst the vibrancy lies a painful history. Rituals have often clashed with the encroachment of outside cultures. Forced assimilation sought to erase these sacred practices. But like the resilient trees that sway in fierce winds, Native American traditions have endured, morphing and adapting, while fiercely preserving their essence. Today, in a world inundated with change, ceremonies serve as acts of defiance and resilience, reminding the future generations who they are and what they stand for. As dusk falls and the stars emerge, one by one, the rituals fade into a living memory, etching the essence of resilience and hope into the fabric of time. Each prayer sent skyward, each offering laid upon the ground, solidifies a promise to remember, to honor, and to continue nurturing connections with the sacred dot, with the final notes of a song played upon the wind and the last embers of the fire flickering like memories. The circle slowly disperses. Yet, a kind-hearted weight hangs in the air, a shared understanding that rituals are not simply events. They are powerful reminders of who we are and who we can become, awash in the aftermath of sacred connections. The path now winds toward the teachings and stories passed down through generations. Join us as we delve deeper into the heart of these oral traditions, where words become worlds and voices echo the wisdom of the ancestors, forever guiding those who listen. In the heart of the Florida Everglades, where the whisper of the wind carries stories older than memory, the Miccosukee tribe draws upon ancient rituals that bind them to their ancestors and the land that cradles them. It is here, beneath the vast blue skies and amidst the serene swamps, that the gatherings of the sky come alive, a rich tapestry woven from the threads of history, belief, and nature. The gatherings, a celebration of unity and strength, welcome members from near and far. Families converge, adorned in vibrant traditional attire, Their colors a brushstroke against the verdant backdrop. Drums echo like distant heartbeats, and as the sun dips low in the horizon, the air fills with laughter and song. The rhythms resound, connecting past and present, binding the souls of the living with those who have walked before, creating a sanctuary of remembrance. Elders sit on woven mats, their faces etched with stories, sharing sacred knowledge through the art of storytelling. They speak of the spirits that dwell in the swamps, unseen yet ever present. To the Miccosukee, the natural world is a symphony of energies that demands respect and reverence. Each leaf, each ripple in the water, holds a lesson, a reminder of life's intricate balance. These teachings guide the younger generation, imbuing them with purpose and grounding them in their identity as stewards of the earth. Initiation rites mark a pivotal transition for the youth, a profound passage into adulthood that reflects the tribe's deep-rooted spiritual ethos. Young Miccosukee are led into the wilderness, stripped of distractions. They are encouraged to listen to the whispering winds, the rustling grasses, and the call of the animals that roam freely. Here, the heartbeat of the earth becomes clear, a rhythm that pulses through the veins of all living things. As night falls, the initiation culminates in a candlelit ceremony. The flickering flames illuminate faces filled with hope and trepidation, while sacred chants resonate through the air, words that have echoed through generations. With each utterance, the young initiates are reminded that they belong not just to their families or the tribe, but to a broader narrative, one that with the eternal cycle of life, as dawn breaks, the sun spills golden light over the landscape. The rituals are not mere traditions. They are the lifeblood of the Miccosukee, a conduit for spiritual connection and resilience. This profound bond fosters an appreciation for the fragile beauty of their environment, and it inspires the tribe to protect it fiercely, honoring the spirits that inhabit their world. As we step deeper into Miccosukee culture, we will uncover more unique practices that define their daily lives. The melding of ancient wisdom with contemporary challenges propels a new era of understanding and adaptation. Join us as we explore the art of storytelling and craftsmanship, reflecting their timeless harmony with the land and the ever-evolving spirit of the tribe.